Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Tonight, we're going to get to announce that we're going to have a special guest at the spring game, and I'm really excited. Frank Solich and his family are going to join us.
Coach Solich, like Coach Osborne, their impact and their legacy has nothing to do with the amount of wins in the national championships. It's the way they coach their players.
You know, and you kind of felt that it was going to be that way in terms of the atmosphere, but really everybody stepped up to the plate in terms of the players, the crowd just made for a great afternoon.
For Nebraska, they'll put Thunder Collins in motion. They give it to him, and Thunders. Yes, it did now. Crouch brings Thunder Collins around. He's got the corner. Look out, sideline. Trudeau.
I expressed to Coach Solich how much it would mean to me to have him here. I so respect him.
We're not looking at anything other than the next ball game and hope to play well.
So now here are the Huskers at the 36-yard line. First down and 10 to go. Here's a handoff to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stuntz. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out there. 40. It is. Eric Crouch. 15, 10, 5 yards down. Yes!
I talked to Damon Benning yesterday. I know how much it meant to him probably because he played for Coach. So I'm excited to have him back.
I'm pumped. Anybody that knows me knows the role that he's played in my life.
Really executed about as well as you can execute it. The handoff to Thunder, the timing of that by Eric was great. And then Thunder, nice soft pitch to Mike Stuntz coming around. And then Mike throws it on the run and throws a perfect pass to Eric, catches it in stride.
We drew this up, Coach.
We drew it up in the sand over there on the sideline.
Frank is a college football Hall of Famer in terms of what he accomplished as a coach. An incredible person. And so, yes, after a lot of work, we're going to be really excited to get to honor Frank Solich at the spring game.
All right, Mike Stuntz, 1 for 1.
Ah, shoot, I'm leaving.
You're out of here?
No reason to do anything else today. I'm good.
Oh, man.
Give them nothing! Oh, man, Shane Schillerberg.
You're all jacked up.
Dude,
ready to go.
That's why he's the best.
That was awesome. That was great.
I feel like I want to hear that again. Like, well done, good and faithful servant. I'm pretty pumped.
Should we just play that before every break? Just
no,
that's
but
our every time.
Let's be honest though. How good was that?
No, that was awesome. That was terrific.
Give them nothing.
Exactly.
But take from them
everything.
DB's ready to go play tomorrow.
Man, I'm hyped. That was
Spartans. Tonight we dine in hell.
Is Mike Stuntz an eye doctor now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Dr. Stuntz to
Excuse
those of you playing at
Dr. Mike Stuntz.
Shane, well, he went in the archives.
He did. He went deep.
Shane, you may have to do that. We may have to do that again at the top of the hour. If you missed that open.
I got pretty lucky on finding some of the audio, but I said this before, it's kind of come full circle. I was like, last night when I was making it, I was actually enjoying what I was doing, and
now you're just showing off.
But I was sitting there, I was going, I cannot believe I'm sitting here making a Frank Solich intro. This is really actually pretty cool. I mean, it was cool.
Wow, we're gonna have to. We'll play that again at the top of the hour, if nothing else, for me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It's done. I feel like it's game day.
It does. I'm feeling like I'm ready to go.
Sparta!
What's that?
I feel like I'm ready to go. I feel like I'm ready to knock some heads a little
stand
bit.
And fight.
Yeah, that is Shane. That was well done.
Above and beyond. Yeah.
My man was in the lab. I almost feel like it's game day, and here we are. It's just a glorified scrimmage. Well, and I'm going to keep telling myself.
Don't tell Matt Rule that.
But it's really not. Well, and he set the standard.
Don't tell Matt Rule it's a glorified scrimmage.
Like the standard is the standard. As we are live from the H&H Chevrolet studio, Shane has blown me away straight out of my chair to start the morning. Fantastic show coming up. Mike Schaefer at the 8 o'clock hour. Steve Muehlhausen will talk Garcia Davis tomorrow. Huge fight. Mike Sautter will join us. And then Matt Vrzal will close out the Friday show. Sautter may be here. He may go straight down to the field house. The 3SSB, the national invite, starts today, and they have got some fellas. It is a star-studded AAU basketball field. So good on the city of Omaha for hosting. Lot of D1 guys will be in.
You know, we like those D1 guys.
Yeah, we do like D1 guys, right?
I will say, though, this is just a little plug for my former life here.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on those guys that are going to play dodgeball in the places.
I'm with you. Hey, I'm so pumped for that open. I'm discombobulated.
You're just seeing stars.
Yeah. Well, I told you I needed to borrow some of your juice this morning.
Yeah,
man.
you need a little pick me up, and Shane delivered.
Shane delivered, man. I don't need any more of your type 2 meds, man. Are you feeling okay, by the way?
I'm fine. It was a little rough start to the morning. The wife's going to swing by and help me out here a little bit, but we'll be all right.
Yeah, so we may get 2 visitors. I'm waiting for Seamus McKnight, the great SID from Nebraska, to drop off some credentials, being a good man.
Yeah, that's good of him.
Well, see, I'm kind of the forgotten guy because I'm in Omaha, and so I was talking to Keith yesterday, and I was like, hey, I need my credentials and my parking pass because I have to go down early.
So you're saying that I get to make a Frank Solich intro and I get to see Seamus all in 24 hours?
He's legendary.
It's a big day for you.
Day.
So, I mean, good on Keith though for like thinking of it, because I said, hey, I mean, the day's jam packed. I got a meeting with Coach Lamanji. The boys tip at noon.
Oof.
Which is
on a Friday.
Oh yeah, that's big time now. I mean, you got all these teams in.
I know. It's just
I think ball first game goes off at 10:50.
Oh,
yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah, they got some fellas in town, so it'll be it'll be good. Coa-Pete and Company, Compton Magic, Indiana Elite, one of the greats, Dream Vision. I mean, they got.
I'll say those are some big boys.
Salt Lake prospects are here. Couple of D1 guys on that roster.
Are we in an open period?
Yeah, this is a
so we're gonna have a lot of coaches here too.
Yep, this is a live period. So now I do think it's different live spring versus live summer.
Sure,
because a lot of coaches are hosting guys right now,
and they're also trying to work on their portal stuff.
That's what I'm saying, right? You got guys coming.
Yeah, okay.
But it is.
But summer they really start ratcheting.
Oh yeah, it is a live period. It should be packed.
Yeah,
down at the Iowa West Fieldhouse.
I bet we'll get assistants out here. We probably won't get as many head coaches as you would over the summer.
So I appreciate. I was like, man, do I need to sneak down there? I can come. I just don't want to get to Lincoln.
Yeah.
And not be able to get to where I have to make a stop before I can park.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Because I have to negotiate that.
You're like me. Like I like having all my ducks in a row.
I do. I'll lay it out. Bag will be packed. Like I'm good. I'll wake up, get cleaned up, and be ready to roll.
Yeah, for sure.
I won't be scrambling. But Shane, I got to say it again, man. Good on you.
Yeah, that was well done.
Because I was tempted.
Say it again, my bad.
I was tempted, Ravi. That voice here is Ravi Lulla. Now from Hurrdat Sports.
That's right.
I heard that during your interview yesterday. That was kind of cool.
It was, yeah. Well, that was the deal. Is I can keep making appearances other places, but they gotta correctly identify.
From Hurrdat Sports.
So,
if Bishop's a stud.
No, he's a good guy.
Yeah. He is.
He's genuinely good dude.
He's a stud. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, stop it. You had your moment in the sun. We'll play it again at 8.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, he's jacked too. So I was like, I'm trying to put it in the context, right? I'm like, yesterday it's a scrimmage. Don't take too much away. Hot takes. Then Coach Rule takes the podium late in the afternoon, and I'm like, man, all bets are off. We're serious.
Listen, if he's taking it seriously, why shouldn't we?
So there was so much in what he said.
Yeah.
We're going to get to Ben Hart's comments in a little bit, because that has you written all over it with the confidence and believing in guys thing.
Yeah.
And he openly said some things. I was like, ooh.
That's kind of, I wonder if one of the unintended consequences, in a good way, of the way Matt Rule operates. Because it always kind of felt like there was this like shroud of secrecy around everything.
Yeah.
And not just with Frost, like in the past coaches as well. Pliny was like that, really not trying to give you anything.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Rule's pretty candid. He's not going to tell you everything, but he's probably going to tell you more than you expect to hear, and maybe a little bit more than he should.
And I got up there and just crushed it.
But it's also not like we're talking about state secrets here either. Like if he tells you, what I say tells you more than he should, like there's not a consequence there really, except for at some point he might be held accountable for it, right? Like we were talking about yesterday with, I feel it's like this is year 2. Is that something he probably should say? Probably not. But there's no harm in it as long as he's willing to be held accountable.
Yeah.
I think that filters down to the players where they feel like they can be open and honest and transparent as well. And it's okay as long as you're willing to be held accountable. Whereas in the past, you're not getting anything out of anybody. It's like squeezing blood out of a turnip.
How about the reference of, hey, we owe the fans something. This isn't just about taking them for granted because they show up and support us.
And you know they're going to show up.
So from like top to bottom, my man like wants everybody in the deal.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, don't take these people for granted. We owe them some football. He said we're not here just, this was last week, we're not here just to hug the fans. We need to win some dang games.
Yeah. No, we've not to turn this into a Rule love fest, which is in real danger between the two of us if that happens.
I'm going to stop.
All right, guys. I see that. I see who's loyal to me.
That's a good drop there.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of
the allure,
not a rule. That's a different thing. No, but it is because
fishing lure.
Yeah, that
my guy doesn't hedge. And there's something admirable about that. I don't know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any games yet, even practice fake scrimmage spring games, right? We haven't seen anything yet. We've seen a couple 20-minute open sessions where they don't show you anything.
Yeah.
But my dude's not hedging at all.
No. Shane, play clip 1. Play clip 1 yesterday from Coach Rule.
Traditional game, a couple modifications. You'll see some different things on special teams. A couple different, ways that we'll do some things, which, I won't get into now. I'll talk to you about it after the game because I want to surprise everybody. Maybe you like it, maybe you won't. Quarterbacks will be live. We're just going to play a game. I think, we're trying to learn how to win, and there's an ebb and flow to a football game that I think is really important as you react to the situation. So we're going to play it out. We're going to put 15-minute quarters on the clock. We will use like NFL timing, first downs, the clock won't stop. Just to, we're thin in some spots. The offensive line will wear gray jerseys so that they can rotate, so that they can play on both teams depending on who's available. And if a guy goes down, hey, so-and-so can go over and play right tackle. We're not changing them. So that could look a little bit weird, but it is what it is. That's how we'll do it.
So he's kind of laying out real football.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to look way more like a real football game than when's the last time a spring game looked like that?
It's been a while.
It's
stained.
It's
been a while.
That's just going back to like 2002 on me there.
I'm on my own 2 feet again. It's been a while.
We're talking early Bo,
maybe. I still can't remember. But
that's the most recent it's been. It might be longer.
Yeah, and we're building up sequentially.
Whatever the hell it is.
To this. Shane, while we're on this, because I got Ravi on a roll, so I'm just going to keep him hype. Play clip 5 on why this is kind of a precursor on why clip 1 was important.
No, just kind of, I didn't even get involved in it. The offensive coaches did it. The defensive coaches did it. At the end of the day, the kind of guys who've been running with the one offense are going to be going against the guys running with the one defense. We don't want to take this. See, sometimes some people do like, hey, the ones go against the threes, and everyone feels good walking out of the stadium. But this is a work day for us. I've said it a bunch of times. Like, we're a 4-8 football team. We've got to earn the right to even talk about winning.
Got to earn the right to even talk about
who says
winning.
that?
People that are more transparent than we're ready for.
Who? Like, be honest though.
No one.
Who's now? Maybe you have to lose enough for that to broach the conversation.
Maybe,
but just the forthrightness.
Honestly,
I've said it a bunch of times. Like, we're a 4-8 football team. I mean, we've got to earn the right to even talk about winning.
Dude, he is so.
I don't even think it's about the degree of losing. I really don't. I think it's about to be able to say that. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's about the ability to foster a relationship and it's weird because there's a relationship between the head football coach and then like a million people, right? So that's not a personal relationship, but he has to make it feel personal.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
There's an art to that. Making yourself vulnerable and being authentic.
Making people feel like they genuinely know you, even though they've never met you. Right? And because he does that, he can say things like that and people don't take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because you could say, we're not a very good football team right now. And people are like, well, come on, man. Like, we're not that bad. We were close here. We were close there, or whatever. All the nonsense we've heard over the last few years. But because he's built the equity already with people, they know when he says that, he genuinely means it not in trying to make excuses that this might not go how you think it's going to go, but in, hey, we have to put in the work every day, including on this day that other people haven't really counted even as part of the spring, right? How many times over the last decade have we were like, well, our big scrimmage is last week. This is just kind of for the fans, right? That's like a word for word, almost. 119. Right? They're like, well, we played our big one. That's where we got our real work
as if
done.
the fans don't want to see real football.
Not just that, but as if it's a day that you can just waste. It's not. I mean, you only get.
I got you.
You only get so many of these.
Yeah.
And then we talk about like, those bowl practices would have been super helpful. It's like, well, you're just wasting the ones in spring anyway. Apparently,
day after day after day.
At least he's saying like, hey, yeah, this is still a work day. We can get better even though there's 65,000 people in the stands. That's the Trev estimate, by the way. I'm not selling anybody short. That's just the last number I heard Trev say.
And I believe that to be accurate.
I think that's probably right, you know? But instead of just saying like, oh, well, this is a throwaway day, I don't think this dude believes in throwaway days.
No, Shane, play clip 9.
We simply can't do that at this time.
That's not clip 9. Shane, play
So I'm excited for the fans to see our players and how hard our guys have worked because, as I said once before, it is so hard to buy in to a new coach. I'll just say this for me, for my kids are coming into town. My wife's going to be in town. I just have such a spirit of gratitude because, what I went through the last couple of years was really hard, right? And I'm grateful to have gone through it. I would not be the person and the coach I am if I hadn't gone through what I went through in Carolina and for Nebraska and for Trev, but also just like all the people that I meet. I'm just very, very grateful to be in this position and to be here. So I only hope that my work honors the people that come. And I only hope that the players, but after that, I'll just say this. I don't want a bunch of players looking around taking the moment in too long. We got to get good at football. And what I know is the fans are going to show up next year, no matter what. And that scares me. Like that drives me because I'm like, I want to do my part. They're going to do their part. The fans have been doing their part here for a long time. So I started off the spring by saying thank you for that, but I want to do my part and I want our team to do our part. Like I want to make people excited about the way that we play. So that's why I'm not going to go out there on Saturday and run 3 plays, 3 offenses and 2 defense. I did that at Temple. I did it at Baylor, but I think in the position we're in right now, I want to go out there and I want to stress our guys too. I want our guys like one play call comes in, then another play. Can they execute it? And so it's really long, but I just want to make sure I express my gratitude to Nebraska fans, the students, people. Like people could not have been any more welcoming to my family and I. I'm grateful to these players. I'm grateful to the leadership here, and so I hope Saturday is a great, great day for everybody.
It's
what's funny is like we didn't set
I try not to even get emotional.
We didn't even set this up. We're like, I'm saying things and then you say play a clip. Like we didn't practice this.
No, it's just
like I'm saying things and you're like, hey, that match that clip. We're saying play it, right?
No, zero question.
And So
it's taking you aback as you're hearing it.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I listened to it, but it's like as I'm saying it, I don't realize how closely it matches. Like, especially when you clip it up like that, because when you listen to it as a whole, it sounds different than when you clip it up.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And not that we're taking it out of context. I think we're doing a pretty good job of giving it context.
Shane has done this before.
But when it just hits my ear differently, right? From when I listen to it as a whole thing.
He said what you, in a different way.
Yeah.
He's saying what you want, right?
100%.
Like the no days off. And I'm just.
And feeling like he owes the fans something.
See, I feel like I know him fairly well now.
Yeah.
Right? That was totally off script.
Sure.
And
yeah.
he had to take a moment. Okay, because let me just I'm gonna give you and I'm glad I only have a couple minutes because I don't want to tell his I'm not putting him out there,
yeah.
But this was hard for his family.
Okay.
He's got a couple of his beautiful young girls. Brian, he's older. He's 17 years old. It's a tough stretch.
Sure, yeah.
Really, he loves his wife. He's a family man. She was kind of the catalyst. Behind a couple of great men in Lincoln are a couple of great women, right?
Yeah.
Angela Alberts.
I'll say she pushed hard for Matt to take the job, right?
She's the real deal.
Yeah.
I
call him Matt like I know him.
I'm a huge. I feel like I should say Mrs. Alberts. I'm a huge Mrs. Alberts fan.
Yeah.
I told her the other day at the Jet Awards. I just gave her a hug. I said, you know what? I have a feeling I know what you do behind the scenes. Air dap, high five, gave her a hug.
Yeah.
Trev's like, what about me? I'm like, boy, you threw me over the water cooler. I'm good on you. But for Rule and his family, right? They have some educational needs that need to be met.
Yeah.
Right? These kids have some disabilities. The school setting had to be right.
Mm-hmm.
The community had to be right. Where they're living has to be right. What his kids are into has to be right. At the Jet Awards, I listened to him say, hey, I don't want to have to leave early, but my son's in town for a little bit. I just want to go be a dad. I miss my son. Almost broke my heart.
Yeah.
Right. 5 minutes later, they play a clip on the stage, and I didn't even know my dad was going to be up there. And I was like, so indirectly, I feel closer to him, even though that's not totally off script.
Right.
But that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Right. Because I just was like, hey man, go be great. Go be a dad.
Yeah.
Go be great. Right. We'll cover for you. And so when he talks about gratitude after what he's been through, like that is totally off script.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy for him, but he's such a stinking grinder.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't want you to rest. He says, I mean that with recruiting. If we're disappointed that we're not getting some of these guys, and we'll talk about it here. We'll talk about it again with Schaefer coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. We need to be better. We want to earn the right to talk about winning. We want to earn the right to get these guys on campus too. We want to earn the right to recruit these guys. Like, why would you come to us now?
Yeah.
It's a total leap of faith. I don't want to put you in that situation. Do you know why? Because I don't know if I would do that for my own kids.
Yeah, because he wants you to succeed, even if you don't come to Nebraska.
I'm telling you, man.
That's different.
Yeah. I tell a mini story, too, about a player that didn't pick Nebraska that's going to another school in the Big 12 that he said he'll always be a fan of because that player called him.
Oh.
That's the kind of person he is. More coffee and cream next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes.
Is there a specific thing you wanted to shift in your game? Or
need it. It's always good to go ones versus ones or good on good, however you want to call it. I mean, that's when that's how you're going to get your best out of each other.
Where are you getting your most work on the line?
Right tackle.
Is that your preference? Is that kind of where you?
Wherever I need to play, I'll play. Our D line's good. He likes getting behind the line.
Price with the numbers you guys have at the offensive line position, it seems like probably a lot of action here.
Yeah, it's been tough, but we all need it. It's great. I mean, during games, you're not going to sub in, sub out all the time. You can't sub in. Everyone's coaching each other hard. I mean, those guys we're all learning together.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Yeah, so tonight, warm-up stretch, 10 minutes of individual, then, we'll have a microphone and I'll yell out the situation and they have to attack it. They have to compete it out. We're in helmets and spiders by NCAA rules, so it's not a physical day, but it's going to be about reacting to the timing, the clock, the timeouts, and trying to make those plays. It's just as much for the coaches as it is for the players.
Welcome back. It is Coffee and Cream in the morning. Shano, can you do me a solid and let this young lady in through those double doors, please? She is saving my partner's life because she's a superstar. Welcome back to Coffee and Cream in the morning. Mike Schaefer coming up at the top of the hour. We will talk some Cruton spring game. Shane, just open that door right there. There you go, buddy. Man, isn't it weird? He can do all that kind of stuff behind the ones and twos, but, well, hello. She's so cool.
Thank you.
As Ravi's wife is basically literally saving his life.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Wow. So
thanks, babe.
So it's not like the movies where you just pop in a piece of candy.
Well, no, that's if I'm going the other direction. So if I got low blood sugar, you pop in the candy, that helps you out or whatever. This morning, for whatever reason, my insulin cartridge in my pump started leaking.
Yeah.
So I was trying to replace it before I got here. And without me knowing, I've been on the same pump for years.
Yeah, because first of all, you didn't get here till like 6:43, which
yeah,
for you
late.
is extremely
and
late.
I didn't even stop for food, which is so it's really late.
Oh, we gotta do something.
Well, I'll be okay.
You sure?
Yeah, but so
you seem very hurt right now. You're gonna
Now's not the time to play, Shane. We're talking about people's health.
So they changed the cartridges, and I didn't realize it. So I'm sitting at my house for like 20 minutes trying to get a new cartridge in, and it's not working. And so I just like grab a bunch of syringes and insulin. I'm like, I'll figure it out when I get there. I forgot one of the syringes I needed, so the wife came and saved it.
Yeah, that's spectacular.
Yeah,
good on her. So
not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last.
So Coach Roll talking about, again, further echoing your sentiment about wasting the day, because I didn't know you were going to go off on that rant.
I didn't either.
But I like Ravi rants are good. R2, different kind of R2.
Different R2.
We need
I'm still here.
You're still. I was just gonna say that. Wait, is it too soon?
No.
I bet he won't be sliding into your DMs now. Keep my name out your mouth.
What? Show some respect.
Oh, we can do that now.
No, I legit, my response to him was like, well, I talk about Creighton for a living, so that might be hard to keep your name out of my mouth. It'd be pretty awkward if I just stopped saying the name of the Creighton point guard.
Wow. Dude gives zero cares. So about not wanting to waste days, isn't that something?
Well, so here's the thing that
tomorrow out. He said will be a physical day.
Yeah. No, they're treating it like a real day of practice.
They know what time. They know what time it is,
right? And listen, I like that they're treating it as a real game. All I ever wanted was them to actually treat it like a real practice, right? Because that's what spring's for. You're trying to get better.
Yep.
And I was kind of saying it tongue in cheek, but you only get so many of these. You only get so many days together with your guys, whether it's spring, winter, fall, whatever. You only get so many days together with your guys. And there's a couple things both in that and what he was saying about he feels like he needs to do his part, right? The fans are doing their part. They've been doing their part for a long time. I need to do my part. And there's probably a segment of the population.
Do you know how hard that – can I just interrupt you for a second,
no,
please?
Yeah.
Do you know how hard that is to say out loud and not feel like you're giving up the power?
Yeah.
Because you're basically empowering fans because now you've recognized that would be like me saying, hey, man, I know you run the show and I appreciate that. And, man, I just want to say thank you. And you leave and you're like, man, I run the show.
But it takes
not hold it over my head.
Well, that's the thing. So that takes a level. That's why I talked about that trust again, building that relationship with 1 million people that he's never met yet. And
because he probably has met 700,000. He's met the other 0.8.
There's a chance by next year's spring game he will have met all of them.
I mean,
I wouldn't put it past him.
Seriously,
he's running for governor, which is not an insult. Like that's a good thing, but it takes a level of trust, not only from the fans to him, but him to the fans, and a level of security in who you are and what you do to be able to give up that power, because you don't need to hold it over anybody, right? He doesn't need to hold his position. That's the thing that Bo did that kind of rubbed people the wrong way, is it was Nebraska versus the fans. And it's like, no, this is a resource here. The fans are one of the best things Nebraska has going for it, is that you have the entire state at your back. You have to use that. You can't weaponize that against them. Rule has the security and self-awareness.
That is so funny you say that.
To be able to say, hey, I don't have to be the all-knowing, all-powerful emperor on top of the hill. We're in this together.
I have to tell you something. So when I really put the skirt and pom-poms on,
okay,
or pants, depends, whatever
you feel like
whatever
today.
your cheering pleasure is. identify as DB. Wait, is that too soon? We cool?
Fine. It's fine.
I'm me. So we're having this conversation, and it's my buddy's with us, who set up the NIL stuff for Creighton.
Okay.
Just on a humbug, man. Like, hey, really want to talk about this. Let's try to position Nebraska. Like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I just have some good insight. This is kind of what I did for Creighton. I think people really like the basketball setup. So Coach Rule starts talking. He talks about a lot of things. AC doesn't say a word. And I'm like, hey, like, part of the reason we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay wanted to see Zave and they wanted to pick her brain on some other things about dealing with a lot of issues academically with different students and stuff, because that's kind of her wheelhouse. And so Coach Rule's just talking. We're like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
And I'm a little
annoyed.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm captivated.
Oh, okay.
My man somehow wove it into watching Baylor film. But anyway.
Okay.
So AC still isn't saying anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like he's gonna feel like he wasted his time.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And in that conversation, Coach Rule says, and I swear to goodness, I almost ran out of the office. You know how I get, like, when I'm kind of vibing. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
This is
you go all 300 mode, as I
right.
Yeah.
Right. Give them nothing. I'm gonna stop saying it. But I just love Leonidas. I love Leonidas.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you're about to run out the room.
I am, because he says we're talking about models and NIL and business, and he says, "Look, can I tell you guys? I just want to tell you something. I don't cheat on my wife. I'm a good man. If I want to go to the game and sit with whoever, I'm gonna sit with whoever. If I want to go out in public and I want to have a beer, or I want to have a diet soda, or I want to mind my own business, I'm gonna go out and mind my own business. Like, I want to be here as part of the community.
Yeah.
Like people aren't gonna dictate what I'm doing out in the community, because I believe in who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a good man.
Yeah.
If you want to take pictures, we can take pictures. But I told these guys from day one, I'm not gonna live in some sort of bubble where I can't be who I am, because that's not what I want for my players.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this level of security. Shayna, one more time, double doors, please.
Give them nothing.
The level of security that he has in who he is.
Because if you're real, you don't have to worry about
Nope.
what other people see.
Nope.
If you're real all the time,
listen,
you don't have to worry about what other people see when you're out.
I'm
and you can take that with however you will.
However it lands, it lands. Listen, I was silently.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. We got a chance.
Yes.
That's all I could say to myself is, we have got a chance.
Because I don't know what the football is going to look like.
I don't.
But here's what I do know.
Seamus, you're the best. Thank you, buddy. He's the greatest.
If it doesn't work, it won't because of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because you can look back.
Yeah.
You can look back.
Yeah, that's perfect.
You can look back at Coach Frost.
Say that again.
If it doesn't work, it won't be because of the other stuff.
He's a good man.
It'll be football stuff. Maybe they can't get the right guys. Maybe they can't, maybe they lose a coordinator and they can't replace whatever. If it doesn't work, it'll be football stuff.
Yep.
I am confident in that. And this is the first time in a while you can say that.
So all I kept saying is, Shane, you guys are the best. Thank you. We have a chance.
Which is all we care.
That's all That's all I've ever asked for.
Because the last couple years, after I kind of figured out what our last coach was about,
we didn't have a chance.
I didn't feel like we had a chance.
No.
That's why I was so far out and nobody else got it.
So
you got it.
So yeah. And you know what?
All right, we need to go to break. I missed the bed doing all that, so.
Hey,
it'll be good on the pod.
We'll come back. Take a break. It's Coffee and Cream. Shane is the best still. Deuces.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning. Happy to have you as part of what we're doing. My man Ravi Lulla taking the 1A chair because we share. It's a lot going on this morning. I'm pretty happy with this first 45 minutes. Shane's kind of a nut job, but he had the opening.
Well, and he's helping us out with the,
Yeah, I mean, he's basically playing doorkeep, which
I appreciate. I do.
Best line of the day, though. Got to go to break. We missed it. Kill the show.
Don't worry. The podcast will be on point.
You missed it. On line one, let's get to your bestie.
I can't wait for this.
Michigan Lance, here to kill the vibe. Michigan Lance, what's up, buddy?
Oh, man, come on, man.
He said, please don't kill my vibe.
I came to bring joy. Joy and facts.
Joy.
Hey.
Come on,
well, I hope you bring facts because on Wednesday when I wasn't here, you were not bringing facts.
Okay, so here we go.
Brought to you by Damon.
Two things first. Congratulations, Ravi. That's called failing up on getting the opportunity at Hurrdat Sports. Congrats on that.
Appreciate
you failed forward. Hey, it's not really a joke. It is a compliment because one place wasn't good for you. This place is actually better. So, hey, it's a better place for sure. Number 2, DB. Got to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, Valerie Harrison, going into the Omaha Benson Hall of Fame.
Oh, congrats.
Class of 88. Basketball standout during those years, those mid to late 80 years in basketball. Played at the University of Wyoming. Went to Barton County Community College first, and then scholarship player at Wyoming, man. So I know you remember her, DB.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw Coach Schultz's daughter last night. She's actually going to be teaching Zoe. How small of a world is that? And she looks just like Coach Shelsta from Betsy. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so did the 2 boys, too.
Unbelievable.
I played with them growing up. So back to Michael Jordan, right? Now, did I make a mistake? I didn't know I said that. 5 years not making the playoffs, that's not what I meant. My point was it took him 4 or 5 years to win a playoff series, which after I made that mistake, I did say that he was swept by the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I said 2 things. One was not factual, and one was afterwards. So you can see where my mind state was. I meant he didn't win a playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. That's fair. I just wanted to correct.
No, that's fine. But understand. Listen to everything, though. I did say he got swept by the Bucks, which he did. So now this Michael Jordan, the greatest winner, greatest player stuff, right? DB saw Michael Jordan play in North Carolina. If you just only watch The Last Dance, it looked like he was the number 1 option at North Carolina. He made the shot. Yeah, he was the 4th option on that team.
As a freshman, yes.
And it was
Yeah, exactly. Right.
As a
but if you just watch,
he was the number 1 option.
But as the game-winning shot, as you'll see if you watch Air, he was handpicked to take that shot.
By the end of the year, everybody knew he was the dude.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's fair. That's fair.
Now, what about when he became? Okay, what about when he officially became the dude? Like his junior and sophomore year.
Yeah.
Never made a Final Four.
That's not true. They made the Final Four in '84 and lost to Georgetown.
Correct.
Oh yeah, that first game. Right there, you go. Okay, I'm sorry. There you go. And still didn't win a championship as the guy.
3.
Right?
Yeah.
He was National Player of the Year. You know. Then when he gets into the league, right? Everybody talks about, he didn't have an all-star player. Orlando Woolridge never made an all-star team, right? And he didn't. But Orlando Woolridge was his teammate for 2 years and averaged over 20 points a game with Jordan. You know why he didn't make an all-star team? Because Jordan was putting up shots, averaging 30, gunning, and they weren't going to select 2 all-stars from a losing team. Those were still losing teams, getting swept in the playoffs early on. Because then when Scottie Pippen came, it took him a couple years. When they did win, when Phil Jackson came, that's when Scottie became an all-star. But when they were still losing with Scottie them first couple years, right, he wasn't an all-star. You got to win to have multiple. So, and then Jordan didn't win it till 91. So what happened in between those years where he was the greatest winner from 83, 80, was it 80, 83, 84? They won it in 82, right?
His rookie year.
In the
NBA. No, I'm talking about from college
Carolina,
all the way up to from the time he became the man in Carolina to the time he was the man in NBA. He didn't win till 91. So, but everybody wants to erase that part. No,
I don't
that counts
that
too.
Part. There's there's like a 37 points per year or points per game in there. I don't want to really erase that. That was fun. Here's my question though, Lance, and I'm being genuine here. Okay, you mentioned took him 6 years in the league to make it to and win a finals, right?
Yep. Year 7 he got it. Yep.
Yeah. So the 6 prior years he failed to make the finals and win it. So is there? I mean, so who's your guy? Like usually we're comparing to someone. Is there someone you're looking at and saying, okay, I like this guy better because he did it faster, did it in a way that, like, who's your guy that you're making the comparison to?
LeBron James.
Okay, what year?
And the only person now, Magic would be second. The only reason I don't have Magic over Jordan, because Magic has a lot of accomplishments that are better than Jordan as well. what I don't have is Magic's defense. Even though Magic, I think, led the league one time in steals, or he was up there top 2 for sure. He could get steals. So he played some defense, but his defense wasn't enough for me to put him over Jordan.
Can you tell me how long it took LeBron to win a title? How many years in the league?
No, hold on. I'm not. Listen, nobody says LeBron is the greatest winner, or he's just a winner. People say that about Jordan and forget the time that he lost.
So here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say about the difference. The people that bring down LeBron James to lift up Michael Jordan, I think, are not smart. The people that do the same thing with Michael Jordan, they bring down Michael Jordan to lift up LeBron James, I think that's disingenuous as well. They're both awesome players. They're both great players.
Definitely, they're both great players. All time.
They're the top 2 all time. You pick the order. I don't care. I'm a Jordan guy. You're a LeBron guy. That's fine. I don't have a good argument against LeBron because LeBron's awesome.
Wait. I hate to further this conversation, but I do have one comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are you okay now with separating LeBron and KD over the whole mama's boy thing?
Well, they both were mama's boys, but then LeBron eventually cut the cord sooner than KD. KD still has it.
So the backstory to that is, Ravi, is Lance is not very happy with people that look like us that don't get away from the mama's boy syndrome. He wants men to be men. So he used to hate on KD and LeBron for the very same thing.
Now, hold on. You have to understand this too, though. When I usually speak, I speak from experience. So at one point in time, I was that kid from the single parent, from the single mother.
I understand.
And I know how detrimental it is to young, especially black males.
No, I understand.
And then eventually with coaching them, which me and DB have done, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Even though, KD is nowhere in the conversation, my man still hasn't won a finals as the leader of a team.
Thank you. So, hey, we're on the same page there. We're on the same page there on KD.
Hey, Michigan Labs, man, you get everybody worked up. I'm going to have to ration you out, man.
No, I think we landed somewhere reasonable there. Right, Lance? I think we landed okay.
Hey, Ravi, again, congratulations. Shout out one more time to Valerie Harrison, Omaha Bitsy basketball standout, Hall of Fame tonight. DB, always good. Hey, make sure you call me this weekend, DB. We got to discuss, hey, man, that personal stuff, man. I want to hear more about that.
I got you.
All right. Talk to you later, fellas.
Yeah. Landed the play.
I'm just saying, people conveniently forget when they're hating on Jordan about the 6 years before the title.
There's one thing here. Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
One thing that nobody ever mentions about those 3, as in Magic, Michael, and LeBron.
Can we be real? Magic's not in the GOAT conversation. Come on.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna,
I know he brought him up, but I know you're mad.
Would you stop?
He's not.
What are you talking about?
Not in the GOAT conversation.
Why isn't he?
Because he's not that guy. You want to talk about other options? Talk about playing with other All-Stars. He's playing with other Hall of Famers.
Why didn't they win before him then? So did Bird.
Yeah, that's fine. Bird's not in the GOAT conversation either.
Oh my goodness. Bird is like top 5 of all time.
I agree, and so is Magic. But
that puts you in the GOAT conversation.
No, there's a separation between the top 3 and everybody else.
Oh my gosh, because of recency bias.
No, because my third one is
because if we're being honest, if Bird was healthy, Jordan couldn't beat Bird. So Bird definitely has to be in that conversation.
Health is part of the deal. That's part of the reason LeBron gets so much credit.
I was getting ready to ride. I was getting ready to ride with you. Now you're gonna make me mad.
Listen. And part of it's longevity, though, right? Like, Magic didn't have.
Yeah, he allegedly got AIDS.
He had a listen, and sucks that that's part of the conversation. But
Bird had a bad back too, but he's still a GOAT.
Listen, they're both.
None of those guys wanted to see Bird.
Listen, Bird
would give LeBron 40.
I'm the one that tried to tell you that I thought Bird was better than Magic.
He gave Jordan 40.
I was the one that was trying to tell you I think Bird's better than Magic.
Well,
you don't have to talk about.
That's not true.
You don't have to talk.
They played head to head.
I understand that.
They played head to head.
Yeah, and Bird got his there too.
Yeah, well, one guy didn't get his championship until the other guy left in college.
Okay, that's. I'm not talking about college.
You want to compare apples to apples?
I'm talking about NBA. Also, Larry Bird was playing with a bunch of accountants.
Hey, man, you have any more of that medicine over there? Because I'm
need to bring your blood sugar down. You're ramping up a little too high.
Man,
I still didn't get to my Matt Rule thing.
We're going to get to it. Shane will come back with the open. See, I'm mad at Lance now for multiple reasons. He got me off track. Then he got you to say something foolish. Coming back with the open and Mike J. Schaefer after this on Coffee and Cream. Wow.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Tonight, we're going to get to announce that we're going to have a special guest at the spring game, and I'm really excited. Frank Solich and his family are going to join us
Coach Solis, like Coach Osborne, their impact and their legacy has nothing to do with the amount of wins in the national championships. It's the way they coach their players.
You know, and you kind of felt that it was going to be that way in terms of the atmosphere, but really everybody stepped up to the plate in terms of the players, the crowd just made for a great afternoon.
For Nebraska, they'll put Thunder Collins in motion. They give it to him, and Thunders. As he did now. Crowd brings Thunder Collins around. He's got the corner. Look out, sideline. Turbo.
I expressed to Coach Solich how much it would mean to me to have him here. I so respect him.
We're not looking at anything other than the next ball game and hope to play well.
So now here are the Huskers at the 36-yard line. First down and 10 to go. Here's a handoff to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stuntz. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out. Yeah! 40. It is. Eric Crouch. 15, 10, 5,
I talked to Damon Benning yesterday. I know how much it meant to him probably because he played for Coach. So I'm excited to have him back.
I'm pumped. Anybody that knows me knows the role that he's played in my life.
Really executed about as well as you can execute it. The handoff to Thunder, the timing of that by Eric was great. And then Thunder, nice soft pitch to Mike Stuntz coming around. And then Mike throws it on the run and throws a perfect pass to Eric, catches it in stride.
We drew this up, Coach.
We drew it up in the sand over there on the sideline.
Frank is a college football Hall of Famer in terms of what he accomplished as a coach. An incredible person. And so, yes, after a lot of work, we're going to be really excited to get to honor Frank Solich at the spring game.
All right, Mike Stuntz, 1 for 1.
Man, I feel better now after your blasphemous talk.
Listen, it's not blasphemous. All I'm saying is there's a gap between Jordan, LeBron, and Kareem and everybody else.
Not true.
It is true, though.
I mean, this depends on what you like, I guess. I mean,
because I like LeBron. I like
you
Bird
just took
the best.
a great big duker on a 3-time MVP consecutive.
No, I'm not taking a dump on Bird. I like Bird as much as anyone.
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Maybe, but no. Listen, come on. Just because I'm making a distinction.
Because you can't. So I don't think you can hold LeBron and Jordan in that kind of esteem. And Jordan couldn't really beat Bird. And Jordan built a franchise on his back. So to make that gap and the distinction it's kind of laughable.
Well, okay, but look at where
Jordan wasn't beating Bird.
No, but listen, look at where Bird's teams were when they were playing.
Listen,
versus.
So you want me to take that away from Bird?
No. I'm just saying you can't give that as like if they're playing, or if you're playing Jordan, Pippen, Horace against Bird, McHale, Parrish.
I'm still taking Bird.
No, that's fine, but we didn't see that.
Okay.
That's why I say you can't compare that portion of it. It's like, yeah, Jordan couldn't beat Bird with our guy Lance's Orlando Woolridge. Yeah, couldn't do it.
Well, you mean Vincent wasn't the guy?
No.
Dave Corzine got buckets.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Mean Brad.
That's all I mean. So I understand what you're saying,
okay,
but they were also in peak Celtics form versus baby Bulls form. That's not the same thing.
I need a sedative.
Listen, Larry Bird.
I got one for you.
Larry Bird might be one
His
of my.
name's Mike Schaefer.
We'll get to it
as we get to the
Larry
legend.
Bird might be one of my favorite players of all time.
No, you can't go back and get it. The guy with the greatest beard on the show right now. Not you, Ravi, because I'm mad.
That's.
It's now Mike J. Schaefer from 24/7.
Well, people say we agree too much, so here you go.
Mike J. Schaefer. I love the hat. Is that a Lookouts?
That is a Chattanooga Lookouts hat, yes.
That is fantastic.
That's good on you to know that, to be able to pull it.
Funny side note that doesn't have anything to do with anything. I used to collect minor league baseball hats.
Okay, that's I'm in that portion of my life now at 35.
I love my.
I have a couple of great big long boxes that have nothing with hats that I don't even wear.
I was gonna say you're not a big hat guy.
No, I haven't probably worn a hat since maybe I don't know 09 maybe.
Really?
10. It was softball. I know.
Do you remember the event that caused you to?
It was softball, and
the sun was getting to be a little bit much for you at shortstop.
Yeah, probably was. No, I had a sweet mesh Nebraska hat. It had a red bill and a red end, and it said Huskers on the back. It was kind of stretchy, and it was getting kind of dirty, and I think I wanted to wear it a lot. And then people said that it was gonna mess with your hairline, and I already have an abnormally large forehead, so I got paranoid and I stopped wearing hats. That's the real story. I mean, it always boils down to my insecurity, Mike J. It's at the end of the day.
My hairline was kind of screwed at birth, so I've never really.
You just went with it?
Yeah.
So how you been,
I've
man?
got what the men look like in my dad's family.
I appreciate the self-awareness there.
It's a lot going on, man. The recruiting world is kind of a buzz. The Raiola news. I mean, and it's not even really news yet. I think we just kind of resigned ourselves to it. And I remember
it's officially unofficial.
Well, I remember, Mike J, early on, and I said this on the show, that I didn't want to go against you, and I didn't feel good about it. Like I said, full disclosure, because one of the Budweiser Zipline six-pack questions was, did I believe Dylan Raiola was coming to Nebraska? This is 2 months ago, maybe 2.5 months ago. And I said, I don't feel good about saying this, but I'll probably go 60-40 no. What are the odds today, Schaefer, that it could still be 60-40 as the fraction, but now maybe 60-40, yes, he goes someplace else? Have we moved on past that kind of a number? Like, have we just resigned ourselves to the fact that it's Georgia or bust?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be closer to probably 70-30 or even 80-20. I just don't. Every source I've talked to has indicated that everything is pointing in the Georgia direction. That he enjoyed his visit to Nebraska at the end of March, but at that point, it already sort of had felt like he had made a decision mentally that Georgia was going to be the school. So I don't. Things can still change. Like the thing about all of this that fascinates me is there was that 5-day stretch where Georgia wasn't the team, and they maybe weren't even going to get a visit in March. And then something obviously flips and he goes to Georgia, and then it flips even more on that visit. What that was, whatever. Anybody's guess. But yeah, I think that I think internally over there, Nebraska has largely moved on too. I don't know that they're sitting by waiting for Dylan Raiola to call with a sup. So yeah. I think that,
sup.
Coach Rule, you up?
Sup.
Yeah. I don't think that phone call text is happening. So
what's wrong with you, Shay? So
I'm just saying. So with that being said, Nebraska's got to move on, and Dylan Raiola is going to do what Dylan Raiola does.
Okay, so
we're just going to do what's asked.
So full disclosure, I do think because Dom said something to me that weekend about this being the first opportunity really for Dylan to sit down with Coach Satterfield and Coach Rule and meet Coach McGuire. And I was picking his brain on this whole legacy, call it a legacy, don't call it a legacy. How do you deal with it in your household? Talk to your son. And he kind of intimated, he said, the way that I look at it is it's about relationships. And I know that people are worried about SC and he likes SC. He said, but the team to worry about is Georgia. Like he said that on March 25th. And I felt like this is totally just me. This isn't me speaking for Dom. This is just me. I felt like that weekend came down to Smart and Bobo versus Rule and Satterfield because they had a clear head start, Georgia did, and Nebraska had to make whatever sort of impression. Would you vibe with me like if we were just breaking bread, you're making me those hash browns or whatever?
Sure. I would, anytime you gotta actually stop by the house and say that you might stop by.
Well, I mean, I did kind of get a gauge on where you live. You are closer to Beatrice than you are downtown Lincoln, it seems.
I told people I'm a suburb of Northwest Kansas City. So.
What in the world, man? Could you get further out?
No, I mean it's just all the way down here. I don't know. We picked a house out in November of 2021. Didn't really realize that it's the corner boundary of the entire, community.
So basically, Schaefer and I are never going to see each other again.
Dude, you couldn't be further. He couldn't be further in Lincoln.
I think that your summation there is correct. I mean, and it's correct beyond Dylan Raiola. Like, that's the thing that people have to remember about this class. Like, we can talk about how it's their first full class because they get the entire cycle to use to recruit for it. But they're so far behind on all of these recruits that they like. And they acknowledge that. I mean, they, moving off of Dylan for a second, and I know that's not what anybody ever wants to do, but they have a couple linebackers coming in Kamar Mathuti and Dylan Williams that they absolutely love. But they're years behind teams that have been recruiting these guys. So Tony White has to make up a lot of ground for a pair of linebackers that I think are really strong fits, that if they were 2025s or 2026s and you would have had multiple years. That's why I think the really big recruiting class is probably at least a year out, but that doesn't mean they can't find those kids who instantly connect with them. Like, that's what you have to do. You have to put in the work and then you see what comes out of it, but you still have to put in the work. And I think that they know that they're chasing in a lot of situations with the top end guys on their board, but that doesn't mean they're going to not do that. So I think whether it's Raiola, whether it's Kamar Mathuti, whether it's Brandon Baker, like, they have an uphill battle with every kid, maybe this side of Gatlin Bear and Carter Nelson, that are at the high end of their board, because they just don't have the relationship that, other schools do with these guys. And so I think that's always going to be the challenge in this first class, regardless of which recruit it is.
That's interesting, because I'm trying to make the case in my head. Maybe it's just because I hear what I want to hear, but I actually think the sentiment about recruiting and the guys that they had from that weekend on the 25th, which was huge, versus nothing really coming to. It's one of those little lizards that's like an alligator, has some islands named after him. One of those, I think the correlation, Schaefer, I know, right? It's me.
Your side's just amazing.
Says the guy that said the sub call. Schaefer. So it's like all that happened, and then Coach Rule's press conferences seem to kind of line up. The sense of entitlement, get over yourself. I mean that with the coaches, the players, from recruiting. We're not handpicked. You're not anointed. This isn't because you're just Nebraska. We need to go back and work. Like, I think the recruiting landscape and him being on edge that they need to win to get guys to come here seem to coincide.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be true of any coach. Like, the college football landscape that Matt Rule inherited by taking the Nebraska job in December of 2022 looks nothing like it did when he left for the Carolina Panthers in January of 2020. Like, it's just a different sport entirely in that stretch because of NIL, because of a variety of things. And so I think that, there's probably an inherent sense of pressure coming to take this job and starting with this job right away that he didn't feel at Temple, that he didn't feel at Baylor. And I think some of that goes to what he spoke about last night when he talked about how the spring game and all of this is for the fans, that the fans do their part, and then it's on the rest of them to kind of step it up and meet the fans in the middle. So I definitely think he feels pressure. And whether his messaging aligns with that or not, I mean, it seems like it would when you draw the line that you just did there from his remarks each week kind of moving forward. I don't know. That doesn't concern me necessarily. I think it speaks to kind of his awareness of realizing the situation around him more than it does like the panic button that, he just figured out this is going to be difficult. No, I think he knew that.
Yeah.
But I think the messaging and the way he's talking, and we talked about this, everything he does is intentional. He's always speaking to someone. It may not be you directly, but he's always speaking to someone.
I completely agree. That's a good point.
Schaefer,
really
I wanted to I'm going to play a little homer here and ask you about the Vermont commitment from Millard North in their first commitment of 2025. The offer originally came, correct me if my timeline's wrong here, originally came under the previous staff.
Yep.
Correct. And then obviously there was still interest in with Rule and his staff as well. What did they like about Vermont to A, keep the offer in place, and then B, be ready to accept a commitment at this time?
I have reason to believe that Vermont was one of those guys that they watched pretty early on and they absolutely loved. I think that his athleticism alone just on the back end had their attention. I think that he was someone that represented to them of the type of kids that they could go get in the Midwest that, are available in Nebraska that are going to pop up every couple years kind of thing. And I think they just eventually grew to like him a lot. I'm pretty sure he was there that first Sunday when they had all the recruits down that had in-state offers that could make it on short notice. I'm pretty sure that relationship grew relatively quickly. And, Caden obviously really liked Nebraska too. So I think once it was established that both sides really liked each other, it was just a matter of time. And there was no other offers or anything else that he was waiting on. So he went ahead and he made that decision. But without going too deep into it, Caden Vermont is one of those guys that I think Matt Rule was pretty smitten with right away when he put on the film because of what it told him about the area that he can recruit it.
When you're taking a look at, excuse me, when you're taking a look at the landscape, you're fresh off of being in Kansas City at the Under Armour deal and watching those guys run around. And I was listening to the Under Armour guys talk after, and they were comparing the camp talent to some other places around the country. And they said one of the reasons that they like this camp in particular or the area was for attendance and attentiveness. Is that a regional thing, do you think, when coaches look to recruit, that there are certain unspoken attributes that players around the region have? Like, I'm not going to say punctuality and being good to your word, but I felt like that was an odd distinction to make, given it's mostly about the physical things.
Yeah, I think what that means is that he recognized it's an underserved area, because one of the reasons you have the attendance and the attentiveness is that camp is rare relative to, there's no big Nike camp that's going to be within 5 hours of Lincoln or Omaha. There's no, so this was sort of your big camp. This was kind of the opportunity. And talking with Alan True from 24/7 Sports, who attends these camps in Chicago and Columbus and Detroit, Nashville, all these different areas, he straight up said, when we were talking before the camp even happened, this is one of the best this is one of the best, invite lists and camp lists I'm going to see all year, because of how much of that talent was like, yeah, we got to go to this, because it doesn't, you get one shot. There's guys that really would never show up to that camp, except they don't have it very often in the Midwest. Whereas if you live in Nashville, you can get to that version of that camp in multiple different states in 5 hours or less. So you have options like that all the time. And so I think one of the reasons why Kansas City has really emerged for Under Armour, just talking to the people down there, is that they get kids that come from as far as Colorado and Oklahoma City, or, they had some kids from Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska. I mean, so Kansas, obviously. So Illinois, you're getting a collection of kids that are willing to show up to this thing because they're underserved otherwise. And not only are they willing to show up, they're showing up to work. They're showing up to learn. They're not, putting their name down and then not showing up at all. And I promise you, for the big camps in Dallas and Miami, where you have hundreds of these things, people put their name down, then they're not there. That's common. So I think a lot of that just has to do with the Midwest area is underserved. It was a really good camp, I thought, on Sunday.
Schaefer, let me ask you a little bit.
Despite the weather, which was...
Oh, the weather was horrible.
Absolutely miserable. No, it was. It was 40.
I was exhausted when I got home just from standing in that wind.
I'm not what I'd call a little guy, and I got blown off the bleachers. I was like, wow. It wouldn't have been good to be a quarterback.
No.
Schaefer, let me ask you a little bit of a big picture question here. I think we got maybe a little bit out over our skis, imagining what a class with Dylan Raiola could look like in terms of, well, not just about him, but in terms of who he could bring with him. Right.
And by the way, he's not interested in recruiting.
Which I think is a reasonable, listen, if you get a guy like Dylan Raiola, I think it's reasonable to expect that other guys will want to come as well, but we got ahead of ourselves a little bit there. In your mind now, assuming the Raiola thing, that ship has sailed, what are you looking at in terms of I don't want to say a ceiling, but kind of a realistic landing spot for this recruiting class now that the Dylan Raiola of it all has kind of been taken off the table, or it seems like it has at least?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes back into where Nebraska should always be, which is somewhere between 17 and 30. Every single year, Nebraska's recruiting class, that's the base level, and it should build up from there. And that's where I think they're going to be again this year. If you start to land some of those transcendent talents, then you can move into the top 15, top 10. Mm-hmm. But that's a really tough thing to crack. I think the gap between 12 and 17 is significantly larger than the gap between 17 and 30. Mm-hmm. And the gap between 15 and 8 is even larger than that gap between 12 and, so there's a pretty, it's tiers off, and Nebraska's just in that tier that really falls between 17 and 30 every year. And really what their ranking is amongst that is pretty, to me, shrug-worthy, because it's one or two players can really flip you one way or the other. So that's just kind of the tier they're in. And I think you'd call that probably the fourth, maybe the fifth tier of kind of the recruiting rankings. And so that's where I think they're going to be again. If you were able to land a guy like Dylan Raiola, then maybe you can move up into that third, or the low end of the second tier if you have an amazing class. But it's just a thing where, I think if they finish 22nd in recruiting, no one should be really surprised by that.
I know you have some ideas going in, and I think one of the reasons that I've liked you from day one is you put eyes on things that you write about, and you go to places and you're visible. So I think that makes you credible. So tomorrow, as you get ready to put your fingers to the keyboard, do you have an idea of what you think your story will be about, of your takeaway? Do you have a feeling what you're going to gravitate towards after tomorrow?
It's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be what Jeff Sims looks like with that offense and what that offense looks like, or it's going to be about the whole second level of Nebraska's defense. It's going to be one of those two things, I think. Those are kind of the, not necessarily concern points, but those are where my interests necessarily lie. And if we don't really see it from Jamari Butler and those guys, I mean, that could be a concern. And if Jeff Sims has a long, struggling day, then that opens up a whole new August. So both of those things are fascinating to me. Shane, I hear the bumper music. I'll stop talking now.
Hey, Shay, fantastic stuff, man. That's why we give you the big block now, man. I appreciate your time.
All right, guys, have a good one. Sorry, Shane, don't hate me.
That's our man. He's funny. Mike J. Schaefer coming up. Top of the hour, 8:30. Here we go. We'll try not to argue.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
I kind of just said, hey, Sat, you call it. I want him to work with the guys in terms of, hey, what are your, what do you feel really comfortable with? But, what we're not going to do, a lot of times coaches will say like, hey, we're going to keep it vanilla, especially when you're first time. We're not doing that. We're going to run our plays. We're going to run our plays on offense and defense. I see I certainly can understand hey, maybe we could surprise Minnesota with something, but we got to get good at playing football. So we're going to go play and do what we do and see who plays well.
Would you like to get back into simple versus easy?
Yeah.
It seems kind of simple.
Everything he says seems simple, right?
Yeah, but it just always hasn't been.
Has he said anything complicated yet?
No, and one thing he challenged me on, this is probably about maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago. He's like, look.
Best thing we can do is just model what it means to be a Lion out there.
Oh, that's up there. That's one of my favorite things. He said, "You basically stop me when I tell a lie."
Yeah.
I
goes
mean,
back to what I was saying
I mean, that
before.
was the essence of what he said.
That goes back to what I was saying before about him being comfortable being in public. Because it's not, listen, I've been there. This isn't me judging previous coaches or whatever, because I've been this person. When you're out there being someone you're not, it's exhausting. So
Who are you telling?
So you don't want to be out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We are where top producers go to be with other top producers. We want to be with the best of the best.
When you are just okay being yourself and you're comfortable and you're being genuine, it's a lot easier to go out and be around people because it's not as exhausting when you're not faking it.
Yeah. Well, you ain't never
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it.
So,
Yes,
like
indeed.
when he's talking about, I'm going to be in the community, and he's talking about stop me when I tell a lie. Like that all is the same thing. Then when he's saying things like, I feel like I have to do my part. That's the thing I wanted to get to earlier, because I think some people, you could potentially hear that the same way. We saw that stupid clip that PTI had go viral the other day, right?
Well, they played like a quarter of the
Yes.
clip and not the question in its entirety.
But we saw that, and they go and listen, because he is willing to be transparent and say a little bit more than he should.
They cropped an answer though.
They did. But sometimes it can sound like he's taking shots at somebody, or he's trying to say something that he's not trying to say. So when he says, I feel an obligation to do my part, you could take that if you're skeptical and maybe you're a little snarky like I can be. You could take that and be like, oh, well, the last guy didn't do his part.
Yeah.
You could take the transfer portal thing and be like, he's hating on Dion, or he's hating on whoever. Or you could be like, okay, what do we know about Matt Rule? Okay, I went to Bible college. This is like exegesis 101, right? You take the context of what you know about the thing that you're trying to figure out.
Preached that my wheelhouse.
And your interpretation of that, if it doesn't fit what you already know for sure, then it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
No doubt to me about that.
So what do we know about Matt Rule?
That's the core of the Bereans. But go ahead.
Is he taking pot shots at people?
No.
That's not who he is, right?
No.
We know that. I feel pretty certain we know that about him.
It's not, yeah.
He's not snarky. He's not taking shots at people. Okay. Almost everything he says is good-natured and genuine. That doesn't mean he never has a bad day, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So when I hear him say, I'm not worried about the transfer portal, I'm not excited about the transfer portal, I'm excited to coach my guys.
That was like
what that
the
says,
last 15% of the answer.
But even if you just take that at face value, okay? What I hear when I say that, because of what I know about Matt Rule and because of what you know about Matt Rule, I don't hear, he's taking a shot at people that use the transfer portal, because guess what? He's using the transfer portal too.
Yeah. What
I hear is, I'm excited and I respect the people that are currently in my program putting in work.
And the answer to the question centered around being there for the guys that you have, because they need to believe in you. He was new. It was hard for guys to accept a new coach and accept
guy
change.
that didn't recruit them.
That was the context of the answer.
And so he's excited to be with his guys. That doesn't mean he's not taking people from the port. Of course he's going to. I think there's 17 on the roster right now.
He's not going to get Dennis Johnson or Danny Ainge.
There's gonna be more. There's gonna be more next year.
I'm still mad at you,
right? But because of what we know about him, when he says, I'm not excited about the portal, I'm excited to coach my guys. And when he says, I feel an obligation to do my part, I don't hear a shot at anybody else. I hear hey, I'm taking ownership of what I believe I can control and what I believe I can be the most effective at if I put my focus on that.
Do you remember a couple weeks ago at the presser? We'll get to Brian here in a sec. When somebody asked him about the transfer deadline or the portal deadline and it opening up, and he goes, this is to follow up your point about, because we know who Matt Rule. He goes, I haven't even thought about that. I'm worried about the guys that are here. I don't even.
Yeah.
I don't think about questions in that context.
I haven't thought about it.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Like, and he was pretty dismissive of the portal question. Like, he's showing you that that's not what he wants to be about.
At least, and especially,
and his coaches are calling it a developmental program.
And again, is he going because of what Schaefer talked about, right? They're probably at least another year away from having the relationship equity with the recruits to bring in a really, really high-end class that they maybe hope they can bring in at a place like Nebraska that they couldn't get at Temple or Baylor. So are they going to use the portal? Absolutely. Everybody has to use the portal now. That's fine. But what I read into that is like, hey, we only get, again, tomorrow's a work day. We only get so many of these days with our guys. I'm not going to spend one of those days focusing on guys that aren't here.
Day after day after day.
That's what I hear when I hear those things, because we know, you know more than I do, but from what his public comments, we know who Matt Rule is and what he cares about and what he's about.
Let's take a quick call. Let's go to Brian. Brian, good morning, man. What's up?
Good morning, fellas.
Oh, calm, Brian. How are we?
Yeah, you gotta be calm when you throw out these flagrant twos on Ravi.
I got one.
Hey, but
man, you got Magic Johnson in there, bird.
Yeah, he
here's
killed
my
both
question.
of them. He killed both.
I didn't kill both of them.
Killed both of them.
What you just did? You said Magic don't deserve to be up here. And this is my problem.
Not the GOAT, Brian. That's all I said.
Why? You said he's not in the conversation.
That's because
you said he's not in the conversation.
He is three guys. Okay.
Why is Magic not in it?
Because he doesn't have the longevity of his career, and that's not his fault. I get it. But
wait,
9 years.
Wait a minute. Time out. So longevity is your key point?
That's not my only key point, but it is.
Wait, because if that's your main topic, then I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's been a longer star than.
He's one of the three.
Okay, all right, but Magic, this is my problem. I think most of you people eliminate Magic Johnson and you eliminate Steve Nash because they didn't score as many points. That's what I think. And I think that's wrong because if you account for 50 points or score 50 points, don't your team still get 50 points on the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to play with some pretty good players to account for some of those.
Okay. So what happened when Kareem retired? Didn't the Lakers go to the championship? That man, Magic Johnson, took Vlade Divac and Sam Perkins to the championship. And
to the final, they didn't win a championship.
Man, you know what? They did win game one in Chicago when Michael Jordan, the greatest defensive player of all time, could not stop a Magic Johnson, and we know what he had. He couldn't even stop him. That's why they put Scottie Pippen on.
What happened?
It didn't have to be Magic, but put like this. What happened? They won, but did they win because Michael Jordan's outstanding defense locked down Magic Johnson? No, they didn't. Matter of fact, watch before game 2, Phil Jackson said he ain't gonna put Michael Jordan on Magic Johnson because he couldn't stop him. That's the only game they won. So you can't discount Magic Johnson.
I'm not.
I don't think you can.
Life is crazy like player, that. I think he's in the top 5, 6 of all time. My top 3, and this is the only reason I say the GOAT conversation. Okay. My top 3 are Jordan, LeBron, and Kareem.
Hey, B,
I think there is a gap between those guys and everybody else. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, do you see what happened last night with how they with Joel Embiid? Because the night before they set precedent with Draymond Green,
yes, sir,
by not liking him. Just because they brought in Draymond Green's past, they screwed up everything else going forward. Because Embiid was worse than Green,
way worse.
But he doesn't have Draymond Green's reputation. He doesn't have Draymond Green.
Oh, you know the first thing that came to my mind was
crazy. And then they got to go back and make it up, so they put Harden.
Dumb.
Hey, that's what you get when you don't be consistent with your reaction to things. And I thought for sure, I was like technical and flagrant 2, he out the game.
He should be. He should be ejected and he should be suspended. He's not gonna be.
Hey, you guys have a nice weekend. I'm about to light this smoker up to get some burnt ends going. That's what's about to happen.
All right, B.
I'll be over.
That sounds delicious. Coming up, take a quick break. We got some stuff. We got some business to take care of. And Mike Sautter coming up at the bottom of the hour, 9 o'clock. Our man from Hurrdat Sports. Back after this on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
I think welcome back. There I am. I always like when I can hear my own voice, but not really. Welcome back, Coffee and Cream in the morning. Awaiting on the arrival of Stephen Muehlhausen to talk fight game. Big one coming up tomorrow with Tank and Garcia. Why wouldn't you want to do it? Right? Like, that's going to be a good one.
This is, I mean, and it's unusual. It's an unusual matchup for today's boxing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this with Steve, but it's exciting.
It's exciting.
Not to go all Doc Sadler on you, but it's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be something else. Shane, do we have him? Yeah, Shane's still talking. He must be talking to somebody. I think we have him. Shane, do we have him?
He's here now.
As we welcome in, he's providing a ton of social media content for MMA. He'll even do wrestling. And we're going to talk the pugilist game. We just call him the fight expert as we talk to Stephen Muehlhausen. Steve, good morning, man. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I can't complain. How are you guys?
We're good, man. It's I think we're on the run here. If you're a boxing fan, MMA, UFC has gotten it right with the last 3 cards. I mean, they have been star-studded and been spectacular. But boxing may be getting ready to go on a nice little run if these fights start to take shape. Do you kind of get that impression?
Oh, 100%. And this fight coming up tomorrow night live on pay-per-view. This is the start. You got 2 guys in their prime, who are the biggest names in the sport. This is, to me, the Gen X Mayweather-Pacquiao. This is the fight everyone wants to see. This is for the younger generation. I think these guys are now, the other guys are going to be like, hey, Tank and Ryan, they were able to figure it out. The promotional side, it's been frosty, it's been rocky, but we're almost here. And I think so it's been a bumpy road on that side, but the fighters, they've been bringing it. They're ready to go. And that's going to get, I think we're going to see the Furies and the Wilders and the Joshuas and the Usyks. I think they're all going to be meeting later this year, piggybacking off of what we're going to get tomorrow night in Las Vegas.
And potentially Spence and Crawford, which could...
That's the one we really care
about. I can't forget about you guys. Can't forget about Crawford and Spence. I got to tell Bud, I actually don't blame Terrence at all in this situation.
Me neither.
This is all, and I'm not saying it because I'm on with you guys and I've been on with you in the past, but that's all Al Heyman, Errol Spence, PBC, trying to big brother Terrence Crawford in this situation.
And you know what?
I don't blame Terrence.
I get it, right? Like if Bud thinks he's gonna win the fight and he doesn't want to make money for Heyman for 2 more fights with a rematch and then a rubber match, is that really the hang up? Like if I'm Spence and you think you're gonna win, then make the fight.
I don't think Errol thinks and I hate saying this because every fighter goes in that mentality of they're gonna. But there's also that thing that he knows in the back of his mind, and the team knows in the back of his mind. If someone's gonna beat Errol Spence, it is Terrence Crawford. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is some hesitation. There is some. So they're trying to get everything now, just like what Tank was trying to do with Ryan. But Ryan's like, I don't care. I'm going to go in there. Yeah. I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to smash you.
I'm scared about that rehydration clause, though. But I mean, good on him.
You know, I would be worried. But I've been around Ryan backstage with him a lot in previous fights during fight week, and seeing how he prepares in terms of his nutrition. That's the last thing everyone should be worried about.
Okay.
That team is very, very diligent. So you're looking at like, oh my God, 146. He's not going to weigh more than, if he weighs more than 150 tomorrow night, I would be very surprised.
Okay.
Steve, I want to ask you because, you mentioned how contentious these promotions are in getting this fight done, which actually did get done, which is the enormous outlier in boxing, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Ellerby still cusses out De La Hoya.
I guess, like, what?
And Michael, that was fun. That was fun yesterday.
What allowed, despite all the contention, what allowed this fight to happen?
The fighters.
When so many of the other fights don't happen, when there seems to be less contention between the promotions, is it just a matter of both of these guys wanted to fight each other so badly that the promotions kind of had to do what they wanted? Or, like, I guess kind of explain that, I guess, for me and everybody, where it's like, hey, this should happen more, right? Like, I get that boxing's a mess, but this should happen more before guys turn 35.
You hit it right in the head. It came down to Ryan. It came down to Tank. It came down more to Ryan. And there's people in PBC that have said that. People around Showtime have said the same thing to me. But Tank deserves a good amount of credit as well, because neither guy wanted anybody else. PBC didn't want this fight. Mayweather Promotions didn't want this fight. Showtime's just a distributor. Showtime didn't, and I have to give Showtime credit. They kind of just sat back and were like, okay, they had their own stuff to deal with the zone, but Ryan De La Hoya was very same thing as Mayweather Promotions. I'm like, yeah, should we really do this? But that's the testament of the fighters. If the fighters want it, they'll get it. Because at the end of the day, these promotional outfits, the network, the streaming companies, they work for the fighter. If the fighter wants it, it's going to get done. But the fighters have to want it enough.
Now it's come down a little, but Tank's still a little over a 2-1 fave. I think he opened, it was probably minus 260, 265 at its peak. Does that boil down to Garcia's chin, do you think? Or because I don't think this goes past 8 either way. So I don't really factor in conditioning. Is this about chin and power?
I think Tank's the favorite because of the mystique. 28 wins, 26 by way of knockout.
Yeah,
he should be the favorite. And there's no disputing it. I think it's a closer fight than people make it out to be. There's no rehydration clause. If Tank didn't think and PBC didn't think Garcia's a threat.
Yeah.
He's the quickest guy under 160 pounds. He's quick. He's so quick. That left and right hand come out of nowhere. Tank's never faced a counterpuncher like Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia's never faced anyone like Tank Davis. It's going to come down to whose chin, like you said, whose chin is going to hold up. They're both going to get hit.
Yeah.
They're going to get hit harder than they've ever been hit before. Plain and simple. It's going to come down to whoever's chin holds up, whoever has the best cardio. Yeah, remember, both guys have never really been.
Yeah, they don't go deep water.
Yeah, Ryan's been knocked down, but he got up. It was a flash knockdown. He got up, won by knockout. So Tank's never been pushed. Ryan's going to push. The key to the fight's going to be the jab.
Yep.
Ryan can control the fight with the jab. That's going to force Tank to make it. He's going to have to jump in. And if he jumps in, there's going to be a left and right coming for him. So Tank can't sit for the first half of the fight and just process information and whatever he says he likes to do. Ryan's not the guy to do that with. Because he'll bag 4 rounds by the time we get to round 7. He'll be up 5-1, 6-0 going into round 7. So it's going to be buckle in.
You mentioned that jab for Garcia. He's got obviously the height, the reach advantage. How much of that, you mentioned the chin, you mentioned the cardio. How much is that height and reach advantage with, I know Tank has got those heavy hands, but he's 4.5 inches shorter than Garcia. There's a pretty substantial size difference here.
It's hard to punch down, though.
To what degree do you think that is a factor either way, either for an advantage for Davis or Garcia?
I'm talking about punching down. There's a reason Golden Boy picked the last 2 opponents. Why they picked Tegao. Yeah. Why they picked Javier Fortuna. Left-handers where Ryan is forced to punch down. Tegao was trying to run to Japan and back and have fight. If we're just being honest. And you look at, I was sitting right there in San Antonio and I'm like just shaking my head. I'm like, what is going on here? But then when he fought Fortuna in July, Fortuna was ready to fight, and that punching down didn't matter. He knocked him down like 37 times. and we've seen what happened. He won by 6-round stoppage, and now we're here.
It seems like in our last minute here, it seems like you kind of stylistically like Garcia, but Tank is the more skilled fighter with equally as heavy hands, if not more so. How do you see it playing out?
This is going to be a firefight. I can see Hagler Hearns coming right out. Just 3 rounds of hell, when we've seen back in the day. But I'm not taking nothing away from Tank. But I haven't seen nothing from Tank Davis against, and let's be honest, second-rate opposition against guys way past their prime.
I agree.
So I'm going with Ryan Garcia by 8th round stop.
Well, I like the round.
Okay.
I'll see what I pick. I'm going back and forth, Steven. You never disappoint. We'll bring you back. We got to talk MMA because we're going to have some big boxing matches, too. I got to get your combo skills, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of the weekend. And order on DAZN pay-per-view.
Appreciate it. That's Steven Muehlhausen doing work for for the zone.
The zone.
Coming back, Michael Sautter.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, there's a lot going on. Every time this dude steps in the studio, it's kind of breaks up. I don't know why I'm echoing. Man, can you help me with that? Sautter?
That's all.
Well,
hey, Shay, no.
Good
morning, guys. Yell?
I don't want to control your.
I'm in a good mood.
Is your volume good?
I'm fine. Yeah.
I'm in a good mood.
Mike Sautter, what do we officially call you without having to read everything in your bio?
I don't know I don't know what the official title is.
Just the man or
basketball? I think it was. I think at one point we created basketball and other stuff.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is.
I know people for whatever the reason defer to you for hoops.
Yeah.
But I actually feel like I don't know if I would be like, hey, what do you think about this guy? Like judgment, even though I trust you, but I trust me too. But if we're balancing stuff, I think I'd rather ask you about football guys.
Yeah.
Is that weird? Do you feel equally as comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I talk to Sautter about basketball guys all the time.
I think he's more accurate with football, though.
Ooh. I don't know. When I was coaching,
our history. I mean, we got double-digit years almost.
Yeah,
so
it's
longer than anybody else.
I was also reminded. I was reminded to your point, Damon. I was reminded by our friend Marcus Polk that the 2019 player rankings I did, I was wrong on number 1. He sent me that the other day, and I was like, yeah, that one didn't work out for me.
So I can't even remember 19. Just tell me the year, and I'll tell you who you had. Oh, okay.
Shireman.
But you know what's interesting though? I didn't love that because of where was Tanji?
I think it was 5.
See, I remember not liking that. Yeah. Because I love, I like Tanji.
Yeah, that one didn't turn out.
And he gave it to a rope. And I like a rope.
That one didn't turn out to be correct.
That was a tough year though. There were some good players.
Yeah, that was a good class.
Really good.
That was a good class.
Mm-hmm.
That was tough.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go to Hunter? You got all your Adidas gear on. I have my Adidas gear.
I wear Adidas gear. That's like what I do every day.
Yeah, you and me both. Because I'm glad Westside is Adidas.
Team Adidas. I don't know why.
We got Ravi. He's the Creighton guy that has Nike.
Got my Nike.
And his head coach arguably does wear the coolest shoes, though.
Yeah,
that's true. Max shoe game is strong.
It's unreal.
Last week when
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Last week when we did the sit down interview thing with him, we recorded it on Thursday. He walked in and I was like, instantly jealous when I looked down.
It's weird. Don't you just want to ask him for stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. It's like he always has on something sweet that you would rock.
He does. He didn't pick it out himself.
That's fine. That's okay. Hey, sometimes being smart is being a good listener. Sometimes not everybody can lead. Some people have to follow. Sometimes it's important to be a good follower.
Something too of that is I like shoes, right? Mm-hmm. I change shoes. I have multiple pairs of shoes, a lot.
Humble brag.
And I like to rotate them, based on what I'm wearing that day or feeling.
Absolutely.
Same thing with glasses. I have 7 pairs of glasses that I trade out. These are just the ones I keep wearing for some reason. But I do that, and I think Matt kind of with the shoe thing to kind of be a little more, relevant.
Yeah. No, I 100% think he does it to me.
I think he's virtually impossible to dislike.
Yeah. I will say I don't know if you got. I'm gonna.
You're not vibing. The Creighton guy isn't vibing.
I don't dislike him. I don't dislike him. I think he dislikes me.
Really?
Yeah. That's the vibe I've gotten
from Mac.
Yeah, and from other people around the program.
Well, Mac doesn't like you. Is that?
No one has straight up said this dude doesn't like you. That's the term that's been danced around.
But you love that school.
I love that school. I think he's an incredible coach. I'm one of the only people who
openly criticize
is openly critical ever about anything with Creighton. Most of the time, the media coverage of Creighton is largely positive.
Sunshine and rainbows, kind of like Nebraska football. Oh wait,
no, Joel's pretty tough.
He is now, but he's new, and he's got his hand slapped a couple times already.
Aw.
Yeah. And so
why they slap my buddy's hand?
And listen, I care about that program as much as anybody in this city does. I will put that up against anybody.
Except for Matt DeMarines.
Well, he cares about the entire university more than I do. I don't know that he cares about men's basketball more than I do. Is that fair?
Fair.
Jacob?
Nope, I'd take Ravi.
Yeah, that's true.
I care
it's his job to do the other one.
about that program so much, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you care about something, you want them to get it right.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And if I don't feel like they're getting it right, then I say it out loud, because that's what people pay me to do, is to say it out loud. Because if I don't, then I just get drowned out into everything else. And listen, they want to play big time college basketball. You're going to have some people to be like, hey, what's going on here? And I don't feel like I've ever gotten personal with anybody. I don't feel like I've ever crossed any lines. If somebody feels like I have, my DMs are open, as some people know. But
I think in a lot of cases, yes.
Can I interrupt you? Breaking news.
Yeah.
Ryan Nembhard commits to Gonzaga.
Okay.
Quote, Gonzaga is the place for me. I can just tell.
That's a game changer. I don't think he wouldn't have had to have Tommy Lloyd for too much longer anyway, but everybody thought Arizona because of the Lloyd connection.
Yeah.
But it's equally as strong
At Gonzaga.
Yeah,
it makes just as much sense to go to Gonzaga.
Gonzaga also got the Wyoming transfer, EK.
So
that's fine. I'll take my 5.
Well, they're reloaded because all they were missing was a point guard.
Yeah, no, Gonzaga is always good. I mean, that's who Gonzaga has as a program is now, right? Like they're that team
yeah.
For the most part,
They needed a point guard in the worst way.
But they're
still going to have to guard though.
Yes. But that's not a program anymore where you're kind of like, okay, we're going to take 3 steps back and then rebuild up. Like they're just kind of on the go. You kind of
without a solid nutrition program or a real weight room either.
Yeah, they should work on that.
Well, you can look at the guys that leave the program.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Suggs left how he got there.
Exactly how he got
there. So he's
there.
a big, strong kid.
How is
Timmy still looks.
I would say, how does Drew Timmy still look
the
as soft as he did the day he got there?
I may or may not know that they just let dudes eat whatever they want. Yeah. Like for dinner, and it's like, oh, I want some Cheetos. Okay.
That may have played a factor against Baylor in the national championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
just to freaking grab some hot fries and
exactly.
No, but even to bring it back to Creighton, look how much of a difference Jeremy's made over there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when they brought him in, and it's like, hey, okay, they're always peaking in January. All of a sudden, oh, they're really good in March now.
Mm-hmm.
Since they got that's one dude basically. I know he's got a whole staff and everything, but if you get that part of the equation right, it's a huge deal. And Gonzaga is just like, nah, we're good.
So it's what's funny about him saying that though is we took a couple of visits to different schools, and the first thing that their head coaches swapped out
was the strength and conditioning
and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you can't get that right, almost nothing else matters.
Which is one of the things I think Creighton's gotten right in the last couple of years.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
It's totally changed when they peak in the season. Like it's totally changed how their seasons go. That's not a coincidence.
Haven't had the injuries either.
Haven't had the knock on wood.
Soft tissue.
Yeah, they haven't had the soft tissue injuries. You get the freak thing like Nembhard breaking his wrist or whatever. And well, I don't think you're on the program.
No,
but no, it's made a huge difference, right? I mean, Creighton went from this team that perpetually peaked too early to all of a sudden consistently over the last 3-4 years playing their best basketball in late February and March.
Speaking of best basketball, before we get to high school football and Nebraska's latest 2025 commit, what are you expecting this weekend with the 3SSB invite?
Well, for those that don't know, if you're living under a rock at this point,
just
the 3SSB,
not necessary.
The Adidas 3SSB live period event, whatever it was. If people remember, 2 years ago, it was at Iowa West Fieldhouse for the summer championships at the end or middle of July. This is their first, or chapter 1, as they're calling this year, event, and it is at Iowa West Fieldhouse, same setup and everything. I put a list together of 36 players to watch from around the country, and 8 of them are 5-star players.
That's a pretty good group. Are you?
That's a lot.
So I was talking about it's a lot.
So if you want to go watch,
and I think 4 of them will be playing against ETG 17s, the local team.
Yeah, 3 of or 4 of the players on the list will definitely be playing against ETG. One Indiana Elite tomorrow morning at 10:50 has a 5-star top. I think he's the 3rd ranked player in the country.
Yeah, which
committed to Cincinnati,
which I actually miss because I will be working.
I'll be there,
but I will be watching.
Yeah.
I will be streaming.
Can do that
and get to Lincoln.
And they have a really nice guard. Indiana Elite's one of the top programs in the country. Has been forever, AU basketball wise, for a long time.
So there were a couple guys, Ravi, that they were recruiting off their program that Creighton was recruiting.
Right.
There and another team that Creighton has had vast interest in is Salt Lake.
Mhm.
Prospects
Mhm.
are here and they are loaded.
Mhm.
They're Compton Magic with Koa Pete.
Yeah. And Gilbert Arenas' kid who Nebraska just offered. So not rated yet, but he's coming. So it'll be fine.
Fine.
He's not rated quite yet, but he will be.
Basketball
in
is
the
weird like
conversation.
that. You always have to kind of play the game like football.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how many camps have you been to?
Yeah.
Seen you, which kind of sucks. But
Kurtang is the Mass Rivals kid we're talking about. Who's committed to Michigan State, 36th ranked player in the country. The ETG team plays them at 10:50 right on Sunday. I'm just going by. And Flory Badinga is
that's elite
number 2
Indiana Elite.
Yeah, number 2 rated player in the country, and that is tomorrow at 10:50, I believe.
Correct.
Who are you most excited to see?
Oh, probably that Indiana Elite team, I would think. I don't know. I like seeing good teams. They're really well coached. I remember first kind of time watching them was 2019.
Oh, because we watched them together in Birmingham.
Yeah, and I watched
Not
them
Birmingham. We were in Atlanta.
I watched them in New York City too play with Trey Galloway, Indiana. A couple guys in India that committed to Indiana. Were on that team. So back then, I just remember watching them and talking to them. Nebraska was going hard after them. That was Michael Lewis that was trying to get them, and didn't work out.
Talk to him. What's the difference, do you think, between spring and summer? Because a lot of the head coaches will be hosting guys in the portal and on visits this week. I mean, just like Nebraska's doing with Hunter.
Yeah.
So
right?
that's assistant heavy this
Yeah,
weekend?
yeah, I think so. I think there'll be a lot of assistants there this weekend. And that's even something I talked with Mac last Thursday. We go, hey, I'll see you next week. He goes, well, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean? It's 5 minutes from your campus.
Yeah.
Less than. And he's like, we just got to see about the portal stuff. So I don't know, but I do know Creighton will be over there watching some guys and local guys too, that they're trying to keep an eye on. So one of those would be one Braden Freger, who is killing it right now.
You know what's interesting is
super athletic.
So I feel like I've been saying this for a while, and I don't know if it was you that laughed at me, somebody. When I would talk about Frager last year, and guys would tell me, well, it's not just about athletics. It's not just about athletics. So now I'm kind of mad. No, I am. And I said this to Jacob on NEB Preps. Because now I'm kind of mad that he's picking up steam. I've liked this guy all along, and everybody told me they didn't understand if he knew what was going on around him with his basketball IQ. And I'm like, he's a freak.
He's super strong with the ball, like in traffic. I just go back to Saturday. I mean, he finished 2 finishes, and I put clips together of him. I made a mixtape, for crying out loud. That's like the first. I've never done that.
Another humble brag.
I'm just saying I've never done that before, really. So for one player,
you were captivated.
But I just was like,
this on
all right, I got a lot of clips here. And one, the dunk over 2 dudes at the rim, like meet me at the rim, and it went in, was phenomenal. But there were 2 different instances where he literally finished with strong contact. I mean, like,
yeah, he doesn't give a what.
Yeah. And he can also, I mean, step out and hit a 3 handle. You know, it's also like, what position does he translate to? How can you see the future on him?
Without question, the hardest person for Caleb to defend.
Yeah, he's strong, and he's 6'7", 6'6". So it's tough. So
Caleb is not 6'7".
He guards a lot of those wings, though.
No, I know. I'm just
wait till he'll have his hands full this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Obviously I'm biased for the local team and kids, but this is another just good opportunity. And one thing that I think people now in the basketball community can look to is, yeah, hey, we play Indiana League, so what? Right? Like, it's like, yeah, well, okay. I think like beat Mocan last week on the 16s and 17s, both beat Mocan, who, you know, regionally is supposed to be the best.
Yeah.
And they beat them. Now,
I didn't love that. They were okay.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that was like in years past, it'd be like, oh my gosh. And now it's like, yeah.
So Indiana Elite had a couple of guys, and I knew Mac was recruiting off the 17 team last year. They would have been 16s last year that we were watching, and I'm like, gosh, this is a good program. They stayed in our same hotel, and I learned a lot. Then being a host for the event last year when they came back nationally, I learned a lot more about the national caliber programs. The Indiana Elite belongs. They're in the elite, I think, of. They're with the Celtics, the Compton Magic. They're in that discussion of the elite AAU programs.
Team Loaded is Virginia or North Carolina. One of them is better than the other one. I can't remember which one, but they're in that conversation.
That's who Sam Perkins' kid came with last year.
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance to meet his sister.
So let me ask you, and I know this is probably a little less true than it has been in years past, but some of the local kids here, I guess, how much does this give them an opportunity? Because a lot of times when they're playing, whether it's in their high school or other AAU situations where they're not playing this level of talent, how much of an opportunity is this for them to show people like, hey, this is what we are compared to somebody you already think is at this level?
We're actually good too, kind of.
Yeah. Like, hey, this you believe this guy is good. This is what we did against.
Yeah,
them.
I think honestly, anymore. Well, I think last year I just look at the ETG 17s group this year, the 16s last year, the tremendous success they had last year.
It's a couple of years in a row now.
Yeah, basically it's like, okay, these cats are good.
They're legit.
Right?
Okay.
Like they don't look the part, they're not get off the bus.
Yeah.
But they're good. And they play really well, coached extremely well, play defense, get in you, all that stuff. And they're just not scared.
Yeah.
They're not scared of anybody.
Nope.
They're not intimidated by nothing.
Good place to start.
Yeah. So, but they've been in front of coaches and stuff. There won't be any like nerves and nothing like that. They're just going to go play. It's not anything new for them.
They arguably played game of the invite last year against Arkansas.
Right.
They lost
when they were
over.
15s 2 years ago. Yeah. It was, and there were 15U kids, and now, hey, I don't care what anyone says. 15U, people can sell exposure and whatever. No, it ain't happening. Like,
nobody even really watched the game.
No one watches 15s. But that game, there was like probably
Devon Howard and those guys.
Yeah, there was probably like 10 coaches watching.
Well, one of the guys had from Arkansas had the Michigan offer.
Yeah, so that matters, right? It's a big deal. But I think it's a great opportunity every time there's Division I coaches. It's a great opportunity. It's just a matter of with the transfer portal right now. I mean, not a lot of people are recruiting high school.
Yeah.
So you have to separate yourself and find a way to separate yourself, particularly if you're a guard.
Yeah.
Like, because guards have always been a dime a dozen.
Well,
you can find one around the corner.
When you got guys from Utah State ended up in the Big East.
Right.
Where they got under-recruited in the first place.
Correct.
It's like, oh.
Ashworth,
Yeah, do I want to take a guy that's a 3-year starter that I already know? Because that's a smaller jump, right? Utah State to Creighton's a smaller jump than Millard North to Creighton, right? Like Ashworth has a step up on Dotzler coming in because he's got that.
That's Josiah Dotzler couldn't have really asked for a better situation right there.
If they don't go
because Ashworth is good.
Yes.
And like, he's old, right? And then
so he's got a little time.
He'll
got a little time to learn,
right?
But he'll have a chance at some point to get his shot to play.
Yeah.
What he does with that opportunity is, on him.
Right.
But no, that's a great situation for Dotzler. But as you were saying, and this filters down to because I still help out some smaller schools with evaluations and recruiting. It's actually really good for those schools.
Yeah.
Because they end up with caliber of guys
that they would never
never had a shot at before.
Yeah, hard. Yeah. I thought, and I love Midland's program, but man, getting a guy like Alec Noonan.
Yeah. It's a steal.
That's a steal.
Yeah.
He'd normally be a
I mean,
Division II low major tweener.
I remember
he's a stud.
What was it? What year was
he would be like a tweener, like your NSIC MIAA Summit guy.
Yeah.
That in the middle.
Completely agree.
What was because I remember what was Zach Imig from Gretna? What year was he? Like 16?
Yeah.
So he ended up
he just finished up school because he had like COVID years and all this stuff.
So he ended up at Morningside where he had
he was on that team with Teddy Buckets.
And he had D2 offers, right? Mm-hmm. And he ends up at Morningside. Like that was a huge coup for Morningside to land him. And
they made it to natties and stuff, like national tournaments.
Yeah, because he's incredible.
Yeah.
Now you've got a ton of those level of guys filtering down to you at the D2 NAI level where you're just kind of looking around and saying, like, why do we have a shot at this guy? And a lot of it's because the portal, the extra COVID year, there's just not a ton. The number of D1 guard spots available is not what it was even 5 years ago.
I also hope parents and kids and people that have influence over decisions understand that as well.
I also want them to understand like how high that level of basketball still is.
Yeah.
Like, and also
that too.
There's one of my
I look at a guy, Connor Milliken, last year. Everyone was like, "Wow, he's going like what?" He decided that before he touched.
Dort, yeah,
he decided.
And Dort's a great program.
Yeah, he had a top 3 of all GPAC schools before he touched the live period last spring.
Yeah,
like he was already like, I know my level. I know where I want to go. I want to play right away. I want to win. I want to have fun, and I kind of want to be the guy still. So like, I know this is the level for me.
That level of self-awareness is pretty uncommon.
Yes.
That's his parents.
Well, I would say because of the people around him, right?
He's got some great
because
parents.
a lot of the times when you're talking to these kids and you're like, yeah, maybe this is a D2 guy, NAIA guy, they're like, oh no, he's going to the league.
D1, yeah.
I was like, it's not even D1 half the time. They're talking about the NBA. And I'm like,
so hard to do.
When I was doing this as a coach, I was like, I swear to God, if you were going to the league, I would not be talking to you. Because I was doing a small school, right?
League?
Yeah, I was like, which league? I was like, man, if this kid's really, really good, I can get him to Europe. That's the only thing I can do here. But like, if we were talking about NBA or even G League, I'm not having this conversation.
Get him to Europe. You get him to Europe on a $30,000 a year contract.
Yeah, they're gonna have to work a second job.
Yeah, in Iceland with a roommate in a New York apartment.
Basically,
may bring you back after the break for about 5 minutes.
That's fine.
Just to talk a little high school.
Yeah, I got it.
Sorry, I got off my.
I gotta get going.
Basketball.
Robbie's got some questions. That's Mike Sautter. We'll bring him right back and close the show, which has been highly, highly entertaining. Yo, it's Coffee and Cream. We'll be back after this. Take a quick break, pay some bills. That's what we do around here.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back, Hail Varsity. If you're looking for some gear for tomorrow or just some gear anytime, you want to be game ready, Alumni Hall, that's the ultimate Husker shopping experience. Adidas Champion Columbia, plus you got gift accessories. You can get your tailgate right. You know, students, faculty, military, they get 10% off.
I'll take it.
So no faking with your little student ID that you use, Sautter. when you're covering folks. You can earn cash back with your hall pass, which we've all utilized in our high school days. Just make sure you visit alumnihall.com. It's Alumni Hall. It's where Nebraska fans shop.
My mind went somewhere else. When
my mind's telling me.
Yeah, exactly. In the same vein right there.
My body.
Yep. I'm glad he added in high school.
Yeah, the hall pass thing. I was thinking something else.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know if
I don't think you should be handing those out in your household.
I don't know about the hall pass.
That question
thing.
was posed to Shane last week, and his answer was so ridiculous. I don't
Did
even
he
think
know what it is?
Nope, he did not. Nope. I think somebody said, "Who's your pass?" And he was like, "What was your answer, Shane?" It was unbelievable. But it was.
I was. My mind went somewhere else.
It was vintage Shane. I felt like we did him like bodily harm. Were you okay?
Well, like ice blondes.
Yep. That's what it was. He went ice blondes with his hall pass. But if you were hurt, you could give Dyer Law a call, 402-3933 or 7529. If you're looking for trusted professionals, they can handle personal injury, even emotionally.
You seem very hurt right now. Are you gonna
exactly personal injury attorneys that will be there for you, whether it's wrongful death, liability, whatever it is, dire law, even workers' comp, right? So the emotional stress and trauma that I call Shane.
I might need to
don't call. Whoa! Don't call about me.
No,
but just call.
I might need to call him if my wife
visit dire.law.
My wife hears the hall pass conversation. I might need
hey guys, Mike Sautter will be calling you at 393-7529. Ask for Jennifer Turcomeyer. She'll take your call. She'll take good care of you over there. You good?
I'm good.
You had
me? Yeah, I'm good.
So
I'm always good.
My man Ravi was checking in with Mike J about Caden Vermas, the 2025. Are you surprised he committed so early?
A little bit. I mean, he did travel around. He went to Iowa State, a couple other places.
He got the Iowa State offer.
Yeah, I think he just.
I think he went to Northwestern.
Yeah, I think
he went to Wisconsin. I don't know who all had offered, but I do know.
I know he went to several of those places.
Yeah,
I don't know that
that's what I mean.
Offered,
and I think he probably was smart to just say yes now at this point, just to get it done.
A big, strong-looking kid.
Yeah,
he's fast. He's pretty quick.
Yeah, athletic. Obviously, I just remember watching them last year. Muehlberry stood out probably a little more in the 2 games I watched him play because I think he's pretty good.
Preaching to the choir on Muehlberry. I'm obsessed with Muehlberry.
He's a stud.
But
he's huge.
He's thin, but he's long.
Yeah.
But in his defense,
good frame.
He did have. He had his shoulders worked on.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get
bigger.
He'll get his size
frame
back. His dad's a monster.
The frame part is what
it projects.
Yeah. Vermas is just what is he? Is he Isaac Gifford 2.0? Can he be? Is Mike
like a safety?
Yeah, that, or is he? I don't know. Are they gonna? I feel like they're gonna start running some wing back or something over there, this year.
Just to throw him the ball.
Yeah, just to get the ball in his hands a little bit. So
I don't have any inside information here. I would be surprised if he doesn't get a look at quarterback this year at Millard North.
Well, they throw it 4 times a game, so
I would be surprised.
Yeah, they're on their schedule. That wouldn't. I mean, that's fine.
But I'm saying in terms of being a ball carrier,
it's Sean Fisher. Remember Sean Fisher?
Yeah.
Oh, our best athlete. We just want to have him.
Just give him the ball as much as possible.
A better comp would be Shada.
Oh yeah, I just
went Shada hurt his shoulder because Shada was.
He was, and he only played 1 year quarterback.
Yeah, because he had something. Was a nerve in his shoulder.
He had
Fisher had a shoulder.
He had
It was some nerve thing, right?
No, it was he had a rib removed. He had a blood clot, halfway through his senior year, and that's when
my man was going for a first.
Took over.
My man was going for a first down and carry.
Yeah,
Shada was sick.
No, he was incredible. He still, I believe, holds the longest touchdown in Iowa history on an interception return.
They've had some crazy. Think about North football.
Yeah,
Tarp was a handful.
They went
too.
Eric Crouch.
They went.
That guy was okay.
He was fine. He was fine.
Tarpin was
basically in a row. They went Crouch. You had McLaughlin in there who was fine. He got a Nebraska or whatever.
McCardle.
So you had Crouch, McLaughlin, McCardle, Shada, Turpinian, and then
one of my favorites.
Nick
he was hurt against us. Yep.
Little guy.
That's who I'm trying to think.
He was D2. He went to Wayne State.
Yeah,
he was fantastic.
Yes.
He used to do our small group at church. Yeah, he was
really good though.
He was a winner.
Yes.
Even
Not as physically talented as
the last couple years, Quaintance was pretty okay.
Yeah.
For them.
I liked both of them.
Who was the guy that they won their last title with at quarterback? Really good.
Was it 12?
Well, they played in 16. No, 16 when they beat Millard West in the final, 2016. Yeah. It's only been it hasn't been that long ago. It feels like
how did I forget about that?
If remember
and that guy was really good. I can't remember his name.
So that was after we had won it. Mm-hmm. And Millard West spanked us that next year, I think.
It was 16. They beat Millard West because
I was there.
I remember them doing their.
Was Andrew Jadka playing quarterback at Millard West?
Maybe that was right. Yeah, about then, probably. Feels about right.
He was nice too.
But that Millard North won a title recently in the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, really recently, and
feels like it's been a lot.
It does. They've been bad for a hot minute.
Yeah.
They could be sneaky this year, though.
They could. Yeah, that young group that they're
sophomores last year,
juniors
right?
now.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
That sophomore group last year into juniors this year is sneaky pretty good. That includes Vermoss. That includes Mooberry. So what, I mean, if you're looking at, to get back to kind of what we were trying to talk about before I got on my Millard North love tangent.
You're a Millard North guy.
I am. I'm a Millard North homer through and
that's
through.
where, if I paid taxes to one school, that would be where it went.
Yeah, absolutely. That's because you live in my brother's neighborhood.
His neighbor, like around the corner.
Yeah, like neighbors, basically.
Yeah.
Vermoss, you said maybe like an Isaac Gifford type guy. Is it just that Nebraska saw the kind of the size profile, the athleticism, and they're like, yeah, we like this guy. We've kind of seen that with some of
Frost was offered him first.
Yeah. But then they kind of
they had to.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what was cool yesterday is to kind of when Rule was talking about like year 2 versus year 1 and being ahead. I felt like that was a tip of the cap to Mickey.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right.
I didn't take it that way, but yeah, I could see that.
Well, it has. I mean,
I didn't think about it. That didn't come to my mind.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of these guys that are on the hook still locally.
Yeah.
Mickey Salvage.
Because that.
Mickey Salvage.
Absolutely.
Like he made
real bad.
He made
it could have been real bad.
Yeah, he made the transition. Like he went back and got some guys in.
It could have been like the Israelites out of Egypt, like Exodus.
Could have been real bad.
If Mickey didn't keep that thing together.
Yeah.
Locally.
So you could basically, would he be Coach Rule's Aaron?
Yeah, he came before.
This is too much church.
Have to help him raise his staff.
I ain't been in church in a long time.
No, I'm just saying, right? I mean, because I do feel like that's part of it, and we kind of forgotten about him because we act like it's wrong to talk about, but he did a fantastic job emotionally keeping those guys in it. I mean,
he did a great,
not just with the recruits too, with the team that was there also.
No question. He coached Bush.
I remember
those guys.
I remember talking to Mickey last summer, at their 7-on-7 or whatever, one of the camps on like a Sunday, and I talked to him. I said, "Hey, like
the homegrown program, all that stuff.
Somebody needs to get their butt into Omaha, like into Omaha every day, like or whatever, like all the time." And he goes, "I'm on it." Like he's like, "I'm on it. I got it. I know. I understand. I got it." And I'm like, because it wasn't going well.
I just
don't think we should be afraid to say he did a good job.
He did.
That
he
thing
did
together,
a great job. Talk to everybody, like everybody, literally.
Thank you, Trev.
Everybody. I know it's hard to talk about, but you can separate whatever else happened from the job he was doing.
Yeah,
right.
You should be able to.
Because I can't comment on that. I don't know,
especially since we don't really know.
That's what I see. Nobody really knows except for the people that were there, right?
Right.
But we do know is what we can see from the job he was doing. So that's all I can comment on. And you're right. He did a phenomenal job, not only keeping everybody on board, at least engaged with Nebraska from the Omaha perspective, but from the guys that are still there for Rule, how many of those guys wouldn't be there if it weren't for Mickey Jones?
But he kept it from being a wreck, right? And if it was, you got to get over to Dingman's, 120th and Maple. They got 4 great locations, family owned and operated.
You can get oil changes there too.
Yeah, which is the key. They'll take good care of you. So make sure you stop on out and see my fine folks at Dingman's. Coffee and Cream coming up. One more segment next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you. You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Definitely better at making pizza than he is telling stories. That's for sure. Matty, good morning, man. How are you?
Could you clarify your question?
My statement or my question? Oh,
the
question was, is Matt...
Your vast dictionary and knowledge of wealth confuses my pea brain sometimes because you're so smart.
Who you been around? Rob Zadisko? You guys sound like twins. The question was, are you better at making pizzas or telling stories?
Stories.
Dude, you had 250 pies go out of the door last Friday. It was like 11:15. That's probably not true.
Isn't that classic internet, though? Like, you're just... It is. You know, we get some stuff done here. But the one dude that commented on my picture club was not that hard. Did you see that comment?
There's really.
Hey, boss man, anytime you want to swing down, help out. Come on now.
See, that thing was like an assembly line. The racks were full. I didn't even show the racks in the back. I just showed the boxes of which you had already taken from and dropped off. Your doors have been open 12 minutes. No, I'm listen, dead serious. Dead serious. It's like 11:12.
That's right. So you already forgot from last year when you told me I needed to hear you better. You couldn't help it that I couldn't understand your questions.
Oh, stop. It was in the open. Hey,
that's what you said.
I have to ask you something though, because I didn't cut up the audio, and I should have. But Ben Hart said something yesterday that I thought was interesting. He basically said, "It feels good to be playing for people that believe in you and have confidence in you." Were you surprised that he said that out loud?
No, because as free as the coaches are to speak
about their players and their teammates and their other coaches, sir. They want those kids to have that. They want those kids to be able to speak their mind within some boundaries. They don't want them talking crazy. But if that's the way you're thinking about it and that's what you want to convey as your message, then put it out there. And I think that's healthy. Everybody's going to have that. Everybody's had that. There were guys that doubted you when you were there. There were guys that doubted me when I was there. And they probably had less chance to doubt about you, but it's just, that's the way it is. And it was good to hear him say it. And I think it's fair to have him say it. Because too many get skated by with no ramification for what they do. So I don't mind it at all.
How empowering do you think that is? You know, because they obviously rallied for Donnie to come back, and now they kind of feel empowered. What's the difference, do you think, for guys up front that have to work as a unit to feel empowered to be able to make some mistakes, or that guys believe in them and it's still going to be okay?
When they now have like it's not just him. You probably could have phrased it as an entire unit. Mm-hmm. I mean, Whipple to me still fight on sight. Don't care. 75 years old, kicking right in the hip. Because I really do. If I go back and watch that,
yeah,
the way he operated that thing mentally, those kids knew that he didn't trust him. And then when you see him and the head coach, yelling at each other on the sideline, that's never in the history of mankind, except for Malcolm High School, has that gone well. When the defensive coordinator, the head coach, and the offensive coordinator are yelling at each other. But for the two other brothers, it worked. But I've never seen it work any other place. I mean, that's fact. So, yeah. I mean, if it ain't out of dirty laundry, if it ain't speaking out of turn, this is what it was in the situation. So all you that said, I'm the one that sucked, there's probably a reason. But here's the reason. We were dysfunctional as a unit, as a team, as a coaching staff, as all of it. And now I'm happy to have some guys in there that believe in me and trust me, and they're going to support me, even if I were to make a mistake. So that's kind of where I think he's coming on that one.
Verz, we've heard a lot this week about how this is going to resemble more of a real football game than recent spring games, at least in the past. Are you expecting to be able to tell much from this game, or is it just kind of nice to see him out there running around? Do you think you can actually take anything away from it if it looks like a real game?
If you ever go out to any form of any competition, you just go out there and run around, then just don't waste your time. Don't go do it. So I don't expect to see anything. I expect to hear everything. I expect to hear the pad pop, and I expect to hear an ooh and ah from the crowd. And I expect to have somebody yell trainer and have somebody come over and get somebody off the field.
Wow.
But those are my only. That's all I'm expecting. Because they're like the coaching staff is trying to instill in them. We're going to talk about this, and we are going to be about this. So, if you guys want in, if we're hitting every day. If you don't want in, we got to get down to the scholarship limit anyway. So just let us know. We've got everybody's paperwork filed, so just to make it super simple, that way when we come in, we're just either ready to go. So that's probably more where I'm not really. I want to hear somebody get hit hard.
Matt, so we talked about this last year and kind of the year before last, where Nebraska's offensive and defensive lines were considerably heavier on average than the rest of the Big Ten Conference. So we kind of hem-hawed around. I think they're too big, maybe be lighter. They can only really secure first level. And then I asked you a couple weeks ago, I said, were you surprised that they didn't spend much time grabbing any weights the first couple of weeks? They just looked at their movements. And you're like, well, no, that's pretty much what you should do. But when you look at the frames, hard to believe that some of these guys are carrying the weight that they are, because they look so much, maybe fit isn't the word, but they look much lighter than they have in the past.
I know what you're saying, and neither you nor I are trainers, so I don't think we know either one of us know how to phrase it correctly. But I know what you're saying. lean probably isn't right, except for Benhart. He's very lean.
Yeah.
But anything they can do, and you're into like a lot of biomechanical movement stuff. It's like, okay, we've got this guy, he can do this. How do we get him where he can take this force that he can lift up and down and he can generate it out into another human being? Like those kind of things. Like that's what they seem to be able to do a little bit better already. I'm really excited to see when they get a full summer of off-season work out of them and how much they continue to change and how different they look better than that. Yeah, I'm with you. The bodies have been retooled a little bit. They're not big kind of lumbering behemoths. They have a little bit of stride in their gait now. So I think there's still work to do and there's still a ways to go, but it's better than it was when the spring started.
Bruce, you mentioned the summer kind of workout period we'll have coming up here in a little bit. I guess how much difference is there in how much you felt like you could get done in a winter conditioning program versus a summer conditioning program if you were trying to remake a part of your body or a part of your game?
Oh, yeah. Like summer, you don't have, you get things done in all of them as long as your program is tuned, meaning you've got your nutrition coach and your strength and conditioning coach are on the same page, right?
Sure.
As long as those two guys are good, now you're getting the same message, right? You don't want the kid to have two different messages. In the summer, you factor in the heat, and then you start to really bring in some more of the mental change, which I think a lot of that is the big thing I'm looking forward to seeing is the mental change, like how they change mentally as a group. And if that goes down, you see a big change in them mentally. Now you're getting some stuff done.
Hey, just under a minute. He's talked about competitive stamina a ton. You just mentioned something about the mental aspect. When you hear him talk about competitive stamina, do you think, what's the first thing you think of? Emotional, physical, or both?
No, I think it's focus. I think it's just their ability to focus. So you can take satisfaction in winning a drill, okay, but you shouldn't celebrate it. Like he wants them to be competitive in everything that they do, and instead of jumping up and down, we won this drill. That should be, hey, good competition. Let's go get another competition in. I respect what you guys do. They're really lucky to come out on top. It's more, winning the entire day, winning the entire practice instead of winning a section of practice. There's nothing worse than that guy. Oh, hey, you won the game, but man, I struck you out. I threw that wicked curveball. Hey, that's neat. Like, I'm glad that worked out for you. I'm super happy for you. Hey, you ran for 400 yards, but I tackled you on that one play. Okay. Like that. You guys scored 62, but we stopped you on that 1 4th and goal from the one. Okay. Like those kind of things, shifting that mind where everything competes, and then the victory is the expectation. That I think is what they really drill out of.
Good stuff, Matty. Looking forward to it, man. I appreciate your time, buddy.
Hey, boys, we're good.
Thanks. That's Matt Vrzal, one of the best in the business. Good buddy of mine. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being a part of what we do. We'll be back together on Monday.
All week.
To do this all over again on Coffee and Cream. Appreciate you. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the spring game.